It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour is back in your life on this Monday, April 3rd, 2023. Hello again, everyone. I sure hope you're doing well. And yes, we are live. We are live, but I am not there. I am not in my familiar seat. I am thousands of miles away. There I am. Hello, everyone. This is historic. There's a lot of history being made on this Monday morning. It's morning time where I am. It's 10 a.m. to be exact. There's a lot of history being made, but none bigger than what is transpiring right here and now. First time ever, show going on live, studio's there, everyone's at the studio, but I'm on the opposite end of the United States of America. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in a hotel right outside the Staples Center. I'm still in LA. I was, of course, here. I am here to cover WrestleMania, and wouldn't you know it, the worlds of pro wrestling and MMA, after years of me trying my hardest to lock them together, they have officially been locked together. And after years of me telling you that, you know what, the roots of MMA are deeply entrenched into the world of pro wrestling, the Venn diagram is actually bigger than we all thought. Well, of course, today we find out that they are more entrenched than ever. And we have a lot to discuss on today's program. Now, let me check in with the team over there. Do I sound good? Do I look good? Is everything
Just don't
okay?
hit the mic, and we're okay.
Yeah. I felt like my audio popped there when I said,
Because
or
you
is
hit
that
it.
just me? No. When I said the man.
Yeah, I thought that was your vocal cord going out.
Oh yeah, you were screaming a little bit.
Yeah, I was screaming, but do I sound good?
You sound great.
Like, I'm not. All right, here we go.
We would stop the show if you didn't sound great.
Yeah, well, this is fun. Everyone was giving us so much. Oh, you're not live last week. By the way, can I just say something about that right off the bat? I would say that 99.999999999% of podcasts aren't live. We have spoiled you all right? The fact that we do this every Monday and Wednesday, live. Okay, so we pre-tape a show because I'm going to be on a plane, and all of you are like, oh, it's not live. I can't bear to watch it anymore. Shut the F up. Well, right now, let me just prove to you all. This is like my version of, see, it's 10:03. It's 10:03, all right? So it's 10:03 a.m. Pacific time. That's 1:03 p.m. Eastern time. As always, we are brought to you by our good friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. They are the official sports betting partner of not only this program, but more importantly, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I want you to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. And if you're a first-time user, if those still exist, put in the code the MMA Hour, and you get a nice little surprise. Support them because they support us. Here's the crazy thing. We're coming off a weekend where there's no UFC, but there was a lot going on in the world of combat sports. Of course, we had Bellator on Friday. We had PFL's first show of the season on Saturday. We had Anthony Joshua's return to the O2 on Saturday afternoon. We had Gamebred Boxing on Saturday, something called Fight Circus on Saturday as well. And of course, WrestleMania 39, historic event, highest grossing event, all that stuff. Roman Reigns still the champ. Holy smokes. All that happened this weekend. And so I was thinking, all right, 287 coming up this Saturday, another PFL event, but we've got the big Izzy Pereira rematch or quadrilogy. There's just a lot that's about to happen, but maybe not a ton that happened over the weekend. And then Sunday afternoon, we get a report from CNBC that it appears as though Endeavor is going to purchase WWE. Now, Endeavor, of course, is the parent company of the UFC. Now, when this comes out on an outlet like CNBC, it's fait accompli, as they say in the business. And I got to tell you guys, I was having strong UFC 200 vibes reading all of this. I mean, here we are on the day after a massive event, much like UFC 200 back in 2016. and we get this news that the entity that is holding this massive event is going to be sold, in probably, or is already sold, and will have new ownership and all that stuff. And this is likely going to come out on the Monday. It was almost exact same thing that happened at UFC 200. UFC 200 happened on a Saturday night. There were strong rumors all weekend that a sale was imminent to Endeavor, which is obviously the common link here. And then Sunday, we start to hear more and more. And then by Sunday night, Lorenzo Fertitta does an interview with a local Las Vegas media outlet. And then by Monday morning, the company is sold to Endeavor for $4.025 billion. And I remember coming and doing this show and talking about it all. Now, Endeavor owns WWE and UFC at the same time. Now, I am not a business guy. I'm not good when it comes to this stuff. I usually lean on Frank for this type of information. So let me read to you what the Associated Press has put out as of 4:31 a.m. Pacific time. That's 7:31 Eastern time, because I want to get all the information correct and I don't want to screw this up. WWE and the company that runs the Ultimate Fighting Championship, Endeavor, will combine to create a $21.4 billion sports entertainment company. That's billion with a B. A new publicly traded company will house UFC and World Wrestling Entertainment brands, with Endeavor Group Holdings, Inc., taking a 51% controlling interest in the new company. Existing WWE shareholders will hold a 49% stake. The companies put the enterprise value of UFC at, get this, $12.1 billion. Remember, 2016 sold for $4.025 billion, and WWE's value at $9.3 billion. So UFC a little bit more. The new business, which does not yet have a name, will be led by Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel. Vince McMahon, executive chairman at WWE, who is all the way back now, will serve in the same role at the new company, meaning executive chairman of WWE. Dana White will continue as president of UFC, and Nick Khan will be president of WWE. Here's a quote from Vince McMahon. Together, we will be a $21+ billion live sports and entertainment powerhouse with a collective fan base of more than 1 billion people and an exciting growth opportunity, McMahon said in a statement Monday. He also provided some idea of where the focus of the new company will be, saying that it will look to maximize the value of combined media rights, which is very interesting in my opinion, enhance sponsorship monetization, develop new forms of content, and pursue other strategic mergers and acquisitions to further bolster. What is going on? Well, that's embarrassing. An ad just started to read. In any event, so there's the bottom line. By the way, the new company plans to trade on the New York Stock Exchange under the TKO ticker symbol, which is interesting. No relation to the former Quebec-based MMA organization led by Stéphane Patry, TKO MMA. Shout out Cyril Gane. Its board will have 11 members, with 6 being appointed by Endeavor and 5 being appointed by WWE. I mean, this is wild stuff, right? I mean, this is kind of surreal stuff. So now they're all under the same umbrella. All under the same umbrella. Nick Khan speaking to Axios, of course, as I mention all the time, and GC likes to make fun of me for mentioning this, but I do this with the with the thought of transparency in mind. Nick Khan, my former agent, they talked about the streaming deals that are coming up, the rights deals that are coming up. WWE's streaming deal with NBC Universal's Peacock expires in 2026. UFC's media deal with ESPN, which includes giving ESPN Plus the exclusive rights to all UFC pay-per-views, expires in 2025. I mean, could you imagine if the stars align here and they all end up on the same platform, or even create their own platform? There's just so much to unpack here. And again, it reminds me so much of UFC 200 when this was announced. But who would have thought back in January, there were rumors that WWE wanted to be sold. Then they came out and told us we're open for business. We're looking for suitors. Then there was the rumor about Saudi Arabia. Endeavor was on the short list. There was Endeavor, there was Fox, there was Disney, there was Comcast, but Endeavor is the one that wins the race, so to speak. And now UFC and WWE are together. And I'm still processing this. And I know there's a lot of people out there making jokes about, you're screwed and all this stuff. I mean, a lot of people very excited to dance on old heel Wani's grave. And I guess it comes with the territory when you're the hottest heel in the business. But the point is, I don't know what you guys are talking about because I don't work for WWE. I did the one shot in Montreal at Elimination Chamber, but it's not like I don't work for them. I cover them for BT Sport, and as far as I'm concerned, nothing will change there. And another thing to put to rest, which comes up all the time, is like, oh, you can't cover UFC or you're banned from UFC. I haven't applied for a UFC credential since March of 2020, and as you can see each and every week on the show, no problem getting UFC guests. So, talk of my demise, strongly exaggerated, if you ask me. I think this is wild stuff. I think it's, it's just another indication of the landscape changing, of the world changing, of the media world changing, and to think now that WWE and UFC are under the same umbrella with some massive, massive personalities and characters, it's a lot to process. I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. Let me ask the guys what they think about this. We can have a nice little chat about this all, because again, I was thinking that we were going to come on here and talk about Roman Reigns as a what? What was he, like a plus 2,200 underdog? What was he?
Yeah, it got ridiculous. Like, I think Cody Rhodes, when I checked right before the event was about to start, was like minus 2,500.
Minus 2,500. Everyone,
Yeah,
including me. I would have bet my house that Cody was winning. It was a shocking scene, and we could get into that as well. And we could talk about, Marlon Moraes losing to Brendan Loughnane. We could talk about the big Anthony Joshua performance against Jermaine Franklin. We could talk about Anthony Pettis beating Roy Jones, but nothing is bigger than this. And you know what's the beauty about this, guys? The beauty of all of this is no one can get mad at us anymore for talking about pro wrestling on this program.
Yeah,
it's all one company. That's it. That's it.
Perfect.
Does this make you a wrestler?
If you ask me, yes. If you ask me,
Point.
I'm a pro wrestling journalist now. This is a pro wrestling show. We're going to talk ratings. We're going to talk booking. We're going to talk about it all. This honestly,
We're a dirt sheet.
now that you mention it, we're the big winners in this deal. I feel like we're the biggest winners. Like when they do the checklist thing, like the winners and losers,
winners.
I feel like we're the big winners. We're pretty much a dirt sheet at this point. Wow.
Love it. Let's go.
This is amazing.
WrestleMania 40 in Philly, we're all going to drive down.
It's just a hop, skip, and a jump.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Bring it to us.
It's about 90 minutes away from me. That's easy stuff.
I might be calling Raw tonight.
Who knows?
Imagine. It's right over there.
might be
It's a
calling
stone's
UFC
throw
tonight.
away. I might be calling UFC.
Yeah, we're going to get you over to the Apex to call UFC.
Can I just make one request? If they imagine they do WrestleMania at the Apex next year? Could you imagine?
That'd be
would love
incredible.
First thing.
Yeah, that'd be incredible.
You're correct. Your thoughts when you saw this? Yes, I know Performance Center, but they didn't drag it on for 400 years. Your thoughts when you saw all of this?
Interesting, but I think premature to kind of have any like major takeaways. A lot of this is focused on the business side at the moment for me. I think a lot of people are kind of like speculating and trying to figure out like the crossover of the characters. How does the WWE product influence the UFC product and vice versa? To me, I think that's all very much up in the air and kind of needs to be seen. I think the more interesting aspects of this are the politics, right? Is the sale itself, the price tags that have been estimated for the companies, and also the kind of shakeout of how the executive board looks and who's reporting to who, and who's running what part of the businesses. That's the part that we do kind of have some insight into right now and can kind of look at and analyze. The further down the line, are we going to have a UFC fighter headlining WrestleMania? That part is a little bit nebulous at the moment for me, so I'm not too concerned or too focused.
Oh yeah, the jokes about all of that are a little bit,
Yeah.
We've gotten quite a few of them.
Are we getting John Jones against Brock Lesnar? That's not even the craziest.
Connor hit it first, did it well. Like we're good after that. Like everybody.
Yeah. Why did you do that, Connor? I didn't even see it.
No. McGregor.
Oh, McGregor. Oh, my apologies.
Then he threatened Paul Heyman afterward.
Yes, that was crazy. I saw Al Foran, or is it Foran? Is it Foran or Foran?
I don't know. He's your friend, dude.
You would know. Jeez.
He's the man. I don't know what his name is, but he's the man. He's incredible.
Great guy. Never met him.
Yes. He was at the post-event press conference, and he told me he asked if he can ask Heyman a question as Connor.
That would have been fantastic.
Feud, but they shot him down, unfortunately. GC, your thoughts on all this?
When I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But even now, like, what, 17 hours after we found out, I still don't fully understand everything that's going to come with it. Like, I was kind of hoping to get some clarity as the days went on, and you know, obviously with this show. But I mean, it seems like a huge deal, and the estimation of how much the UFC is worth now is just insane. I mean, triple for what it sold for 7 years ago or whatever it was. I mean, insane. I mean, it feels like a huge move. Really curious as to what they're going to do, you know, if they renew with ESPN for the UFC. I mean, you mentioned it. Like, if all of this ended up on one platform, like it just feels like they have so much power there. Like, things could really get crazy there.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot because obviously we know that ESPN has a great relationship, you know, with the UFC. But now we see ESPN covering WrestleMania. DC was here and all that stuff. Does that lead to a relationship that we all thought could have happened a few years ago with WWE and ESPN? There's just a lot of possibilities, and you're 100% right. This also reminds me a little bit of when Zuffa bought Strikeforce in 2011, and we were trying to figure out, what does this mean? What does that mean? Business as usual, all that. And you come to find out over a year or so, a lot changes and certain people. Now in this regard, it's not necessarily one taking over the other, right? It's not a merger, so to speak. And so that's a big difference. And so I can see both entities kind of running on their own. But I can also see, by the way, a scenario where there's a lot of integration, right? And there's promotion, and like this is very, you know, surface level stuff. But the next WWE pay-per-view is on May 6th in Puerto Rico, Backlash, and that's the same date as Cejudo and Aljo. I could see maybe those days coming to an end, right? Where they're going head to head, where now they know each other's schedules and they're not going head to head anymore. Like, that's an important thing, because I don't think, you know, that makes any sense from a business standpoint unless they find out that there isn't a crossover. But in that AP story, they said that they think there's like 1 billion people or so that, you know, it crosses over, or that there's like a mutual fan base, if I read that correctly. So I think those days might be coming to an end. But it's just kind of surreal to see those two logos together, right? Like, all these years where the UFC, and you always kind of felt like Dana White had a ton of respect for Vince McMahon, and he's always spoken very highly of him. But also, you kind of felt like there was like this healthy competition. You know what I mean? And
For
now
sure.
with them sort of under the same umbrella, it's wild. Of course, longtime fans of the sport will remember that it's really, you know, like, if you really want to do a domino effect thing, Vince McMahon had to clear The Ultimate Fighter, the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, to air immediately after Monday Night Raw back in 2005 when they were on Spike TV. Like, it was a time buy, and they asked Vince if he was okay with it, as the story goes, and Paul Heyman has told this story on this show, and he said yes, because he didn't really view them as a threat. And so they put the first season of The Ultimate Fighter at 11:05 p.m. Eastern, right after Monday Night Raw. And this is, you know, 2005, Monday Night Raw was obviously super hot. And so think about all the fans that were watching Raw and stuck around to watch The Ultimate Fighter. And of course, The Ultimate Fighter Season 1 becomes this big deal. And then, of course, you know, the finale and all that stuff. And that leads to Spike then really coming on board, and it's no longer a time buy, and it opens the door. If he says no to that, if he says, no, I want this nothing near my flagship program, who knows what happens to the UFC all of these years. And now here we are with them under the same roof, so to speak.
It's crazy.
Mind-numbing stuff. Mind-numbing stuff.
It's like full circle type stuff. It's insane. I like really had no expectation of this happening. So when it just got like dropped, like, yep, sales done. Here's how much it's for. Here's the estimations, everything like that. I mean, just crazy stuff.
Yeah. I think you touched on something that I'm thinking about, which is how separated are the products and how integrated are the products, right? It would be silly, I think, to not leverage the brand power, the equity that you have of both, and try to combine them in some capacity. That makes sense. But it would also be silly to overdo that and to mix up two very successful separate businesses and potentially screw that concoction, that mixture up. So they have a fine line that they need to walk, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. But when it comes to the negotiating the TV rights, being able to come to the table to a broadcaster and say, we've got these two properties that are as hot as any sports properties right now, and you can have them both for one price under your roof, that's a very valuable thing for them to be able to do.
Oh, it's huge. And you're right. I mean, even though the WWE ratings aren't what they were in the late 90s, like it is on fire in a day and age where there's no appointment television, where they're getting over 2 million, viewers for all of this. The combined attendance based on what they announced for, this past weekend was over 160,000.
I mean, it
Two
looked
nights,
packed out.
80,000 each. Yeah, I mean, they are on fire, and the UFC, as I've said on this show 100 times, is on fire as well. Their pay-per-view could do no wrong. Their live game. I mean, it's like, again, just thinking about the behemoth that this has now become, and thinking what Endeavor now runs and owns, like as far as the combat sports world is concerned, like it's just gigantic. Gary Manuel was at WrestleMania yesterday, and you wonder, what lessons and what applications they will use from their time, as owners of the UFC over the past 7 years, and apply it to WWE. There's just so much that can happen. Now, WWE doesn't need any help. They are,
I was going to say,
if anything,
or what things,
or WWE helping
WWE's
UFC, right?
Huge like legacy and business, and having now Vince in what's like seemingly like the number 2, it's hard to kind of suss out the hierarchy fully until the roles are clearer. But he's very high in the company. Using a man with that much knowledge and business history, who has run a successful company for this long, could benefit UFC and Endeavor and other parts of the business. I mean, there's a lot that could potentially come from this. It's wild.
I'll tell you what they need to do. The UFC needs to adapt the WWE graphics package, because those, every time I watch, I mean, I am just blown away by how good those graphics are.
Who do you think stands to gain more from this relationship?
I would say UFC.
Because Dana's comment, the way he phrased his statement, almost like they were buying WWE, which I thought was really interesting. It was a bit of an alpha move on his part. And the valuation is a little bit higher for UFC than WWE. But to me, in terms of promotion and glitz and glamour and hoopla, I personally think WWE does a better job of that as far as presentation is concerned. WWE has been doing this for a long time. UFC has come a very long way. They have a producer there named Zach Candida, who I think has done a tremendous job of bringing them up to speed on a lot of stuff, not to mention the other producers that they have there. But I do think that they're not quite on par as far as like the quality of the production. So I wonder if they will stand to gain more from the relationship. And again, I wonder if they're just completely separate entities and they never met. I don't know. This is just a couple hours old now. So anything we say now could be very irrelevant in a short amount of time.
My gut reaction is that I think the audience for UFC has already been exposed to WWE for a very long time and either likes it or doesn't like it, and isn't very likely to jump over based on promotion. Whereas with WWE, there are younger fans that consume it. And if you can convert them once they are maturing from younger WWE fans into older potential fight fans, that might be the value add for UFC. So I would assume that they have more to gain from that audience crossover. But what I think will be more interesting is between the combined forces and just the power of the machine that Endeavor kind of owns now, what can they do with audiences that were fans of neither, and how can they get them into the tent by improving their products? So it's very interesting. But I think if we're measuring just between the two where the most kind of overlap or benefit is going to come from, I would imagine that UFC gets more of a potential rub from WWE than vice versa.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is the TV deal.
Huge.
That to me is, that's worth. It's all about TV rights in this day and age. It's all about streaming rights, linear rights, all that stuff. As you said, bringing that to the table as a package deal. One day, them creating their own network once again, if that's the move. Does the Peacock deal remain? The Peacock deal is coming up, right? As I mentioned before. And look at the success.
Timeline-wise, just to say it, like WWE is up first, right? Their deal is up for negotiation next year. UFC's is 2 years. So they're up first in terms of like existing deal timeline. Now you can you can manipulate that, right? You can say, hey, we're selling this package. In 2 years, you'll have the whole boat, but for now you have this, and you can always, make that work. But that's the timeline that we're currently looking at.
So you wonder, with the success that ESPN Plus has had in becoming the exclusive, home of UFC pay-per-view in America, does this deal, like last night, you could have watched WrestleMania on Peacock for free, right? Like for $4.99. Like there was no extra price. For your sub, it's $4.99 or whatever it is now, $5.99. So, and it's not like ESPN Plus where you're subbing for $7.99 or whatever it is, and then you got to pay $75.
Yep.
Are those days coming to an end if you're a wrestling fan, right? Because they've had so much success with that. You now give it to someone. You give it to an ESPN Plus. You make a deal, with their relationship. I know this very well. Like, Nick Khan has a great relationship with ESPN. Does that happen? Does that door, do they now become the home of both of these entities? Like there's just, oh my God, there's just so much there. It's a wild time. It's a fascinating time. You hope that it ultimately, and from our perspective, is good for the performers. You hope that it's good for the talent. If I'm an MMA fighter and I look at that $12 billion number, a lot has changed as far as, the evaluation of the UFC is concerned. How much has changed as far as fighter pay is concerned? You know what I mean? Like this thing continues to grow. They're now selling sponsorship where you can put your name on the mat. You guys see this?
Yeah, $1,000. And you get the piece of canvas framed and sent to you.
Wait a second. It's $1,000? That's it?
Dude, all right. So I actually thought the exact same thing when I first saw it, but like I think your name is going to be this big.
Yeah,
like,
but he doesn't care about that.
You just want your name. You just want your name in the eye.
Wheels turning.
Is that okay? Let me ask you: is that a baller move or is that a sucker move? Because
it could be both. It could be looked at as both. It depends.
I think it's a sucker move because of how small it's going to be. Like if it was just giant Helwani on there, like then it'd be a baller move.
It's not about that.
He has to pay $10K for that.
It's not about how it'll look on fight night. It's about how you can promote it, right? Because once you have that asset, now you can kind of socially manipulate and figure out how you're going to present it. So that's where it becomes a little bit.
I could zoom in on it.
Exactly. You zoom it in.
Yeah, you're gonna zoom
hey,
it
my
in,
name's on the canvas.
You know what I thought of when I went and ran that marathon? They have everyone's name that's running it listed on a wall, and it's like 14,000 names, and everyone's taking their picture with like this microscopic name. And I feel like that's what it's going to be like on the octagon. It's just going to be a bunch of black blur around it. And then when you get your framed cut of the canvas, then you're like, oh.
But wait, is there a limit? Like, are they like if 1 million people sign up for this, are 1 million people getting their name?
I need to know what I need to know what point size font. Like, is it just like 12-point font, like literally just that small?
I have a feeling there will be no visibility in real time. It will only be for that
100%.
But to your point about the pie, right? The pie continues to increase, right? The value of UFC, the value of WWE is now in the 20+ billions range. The pie of what the fighters are getting is maybe the same, maybe a little bit bigger based on reports that are filed. It has grown a little bit, but not nearly at the pace that the size of the entire business has. So yeah, the pie continues to grow, but the fighter pie hasn't.
100%. Like you see that
the same slice. They get the same slice.
Yes.
12 billion is jarring. It is jarring.
By the way, are we surprised that UFC valued more than WWE?
Not after the year that they had during the pandemic.
That's a good point.
Not after the year that they had during the pandemic. The number of fans they have been able to accumulate because of that, I think, is immeasurable. Like it is measurable, but we don't know it. But it is the impact of that is immeasurable.
Right.
They have built an entire audience of fans that had no interest, and because it was the sport on, they have built them up. So that was massive for them. And then also you consider, where was I going? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, massive. You consider that they've built a habit. They've continued to increase events, and WWE was great at this. UFC has made Saturday night viewing a habit. It wasn't always, right? It used to be you have to get people to the TVs to watch UFC. You had to promote it. Now it's not. You don't have to promote it. People come. People come no matter what. And so they've built that weekly, every single weekend habit including Dana White's Contender Series, including all these different products. You must watch it, and the people just continue to show up no matter what they do. That is very, very valuable. That is worth a lot of money.
A lot of people were worried that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would own WWE. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Obviously, there's other things that you can worry about, for lack of a better word, and think about, but it's all very much fresh. It's all very much evolving. It's all very interesting if you're into entertainment and media and these behemoths coming together. And what about the personalities coming together, right? Like Vince.
That's what I'm wondering. When is like the first like crossover we're going to see like in public happen, like between either fighters or the higher ups that you just mentioned? It could get crazy.
287 probably a little too soon, but we had Vince in the front. Perhaps we should have seen this coming a long time ago. We had Vince in the front row at the last Izzy fight, right? Izzy should personally invite him to come back for this one. He had success when he fought Jared Cannonier with Vince in the front row. And that was his first time at an event. I personally know that Nick is a huge MMA fan and a boxing fan, and started as a boxing guy, was Manny Pacquiao's manager, was Freddie Roach's manager. So I'm curious if there's going to be any crossover there. But to be clear, they said Dana White is going to remain as UFC president. They said Nick Khan is going to remain as WWE president. He was CEO. Now he'll be WWE president. Executive chairman is Vince McMahon. Ari Emanuel is going to be overseeing the entire thing. I mean, can we talk about, like, do you remember, did you guys watch Monday Night Raw back in the day when Vince came out and he's like, I want to announce someone coming back. And the song was, I'm back and better than ever. And it was Eric Bischoff, and they came and they all hugged on the stage. Does anyone remember that? Anyone?
Vaguely.
I was in the 4th grade. And they hugged. Could you imagine if they come in like, our first order of business, we'd like to welcome back to the UFC family, the great Ariel Helwani. I'm back.
You haven't gotten any calls yet?
Yeah, I know. Why is this not in motion already?
Are you teasing us here?
To make things better, I'm back. And what would be my first order of business?
That would be the walkout too.
Apex is closed down.
The heavy strut.
Apex.
Shut the Apex
closed down.
Yeah.
Banners with sponsorships, back. Sponsorships on the shorts, back.
Entrances are just now WWE entrances, right? Like none of the just walking to the cage with music. Now they have to have theatrics.
No, of course not. DC, you're fired.
DC, wow. All right. Okay.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you about DC.
Wait,
you have all this power? What are you even back as? You just announced that you're back?
I'm just back. I'm just back in the mix.
He's back.
I'm the face.
What's the first
You're
order?
running the press conference.
We're closing the Apex.
You're back from a role you never had in the first place.
Yeah.
But didn't you see DC in Los Angeles?
Yes,
No?
I saw DC. Oh, someone wrote to me on Instagram, it seems like you big up and talk about DC and your friendship way more because you ever notice like he never actually acknowledges the friendship?
Yeah, I've never
Never does. Like, there's no sign of me on his set.
Wouldn't know
nothing.
it even existed if you didn't bring
Well,
it.
it's Hall of Fame,
The Hall of Fame was nice. I'll give him that. He went off
All
script.
right.
Couldn't even put it in the prompter. He was such a wuss.
Almost a year though.
There I am, media day, Thursday, and I'm walking out of the bathroom, and Sami Zayn is just there, and we have a nice little chat. And he's like, "Oh, we're doing an interview tomorrow." That video was all a shoot. Now they took a lot of the stuff out because I went really inside, and it probably wasn't in my best interest to keep it in. But he said that he thought that DC and I were going to interview him tomorrow or the next day for ESPN. I was like, "No, that's not happening. This and that." Then DC's like, "Let's go for dinner." Never writes me back. Never checks in. This is the best part. Then I go to SmackDown, and he says he's going to SmackDown, and I'm just taking a walk. I heard Bad Reputation play on the loudspeaker, so I decided to go for a walk.
Understood.
And then DC calls me, and he's like, "Oh, why don't you come sit with us?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know you were here." I go sit with him. All right, he's there with some of my old ESPN friends.
By the way, that's a nice gesture. That's where we're at right now.
I'm sitting there for a minute. He goes, "Hey, move to the row below. My cousin is coming to sit here." I was like, "Golly, this guy comes."
Take it back.
Ask me. Then this is the best part. Leaves. I'm sitting in a section by myself. Leaves and doesn't say goodbye. Doesn't say goodbye.
Irish
Just
goodbye
leave.
to you.
They all leave and don't say goodbye. Don't hear from him on Saturday. Then Sunday, He calls me. He's sitting in the front row. He's like, "Where are you at?" I'm like, "I'm in the press box." I'm swimming in blood right now because I'm so high up. The nosebleeds of all nosebleeds. I need like little binoculars just to see what's going on. You're sitting in the front. He's like, "Come sit with me." I'm like, what do you want me to just walk down there and sit with you? He goes, "Okay, let's go for dinner tonight." In my mind, I couldn't go for dinner because I had to work. But I was like, let me just see if he's actually going to call to go for dinner. Never calls. Says, we'll go for dinner or breakfast. Doesn't call about either. I mean, I'm starting to question the whole relationship.
So I just want to go back to the SmackDown. So you were sitting a row in front of him, which that's already trouble because anytime you want to talk, you have to turn around.
He was in his row and then asked him.
I was in a different section.
Right.
He calls me to come sit with him.
Yeah. I'm understanding what's going on here. But when you're sitting there, him and everybody he's with, they all get up and they just leave and don't say a word to you, and you just kind of turn around.
No, we're talking there for like a segment. It was like the last 30 minutes of the show. But at one point, they all leave and not a single one says goodbye. And then I just look back. I'm like,
oh, they're gone?
You guys just left? Well, I thought we were sticking around for the Hall of Fame. Wow. The Hall of Fame came on after the show.
They probably had a studio to get to.
What'd you think at first? Bathroom break? Everybody's just...
Yeah, how long did it take for you to give up?
I called him. He goes, "Bro, I thought you were coming with us." I was like, well, you didn't even tap me on the shoulder. I'm sitting there. Everything's happening behind me. I'm sitting there. I'm watching Roman and Cody. Wow. He's cutting the go home promo, and then they just leave.
I mean, he got to the top of the stairs, and he definitely wasn't like, where's
Helwani?
Yeah, I thought Helwani was coming with us.
Honestly, I felt like I was set up. I felt like they wanted the shot of me sitting by myself so they can laugh at me on the way out.
Someone has that somewhere, for sure.
You think you know somebody, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's credible.
No breakfast, no dinner, nothing?
Yeah, like I was going to come grab you from the airport this morning, and then it's like, no bother. I'll just stay in Los Angeles.
I get it.
Did you really offer that?
Yeah.
Frank? You don't even have a car.
Well, I was going to take one.
Uber.
You were going to Uber down to the airport?
By the way, I may never come back to the studio. This is fantastic.
I just want to
I'm here.
Let Connor and
every time I show up, it's like, oh, nice to see you here, as if it's not a regular
No, this is
thing.
great.
Meanwhile,
I might move to LA.
This guy's.
Why can't we just do this? Why can't I move to LA at this point? I'm looking at the hills right now. This is fantastic. By the way,
you're speaking my language right now.
This is incredible. Last year, do you guys remember last year I left? I took the 6 a.m. flight. I landed in LaGuardia. I had a horrible situation with my stomach. Then I had to go. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah.
Then I had to go do the show on like no hours of sleep. Why did I do this to myself? I should have just done the show like this. Oh, I bet you in the chat they're saying, "Oh, he's not in the studio. He doesn't care as much." Oh. By the way, can we talk about what a finish, right? I mean, was that not amazing? Saturday night, Sammy and KO, followed by I'm still buzzing. What?
I thought we were talking Sunday.
The whole weekend was just a master class. GC, you love it?
If we're going to talk about anything, we're going to talk about Gunther coming out of nowhere to retain the Intercontinental title. I mean, the man, the myth, the legend, Gunther. I enjoyed it. Like, I don't think I'll ever be like the tune in weekly for Raw. But
you were into it, man. You were
these huge events, man.
You did pull a Helwani.
Yeah. I tried the move to get comfortable in the bed before. I mean, it went late. I didn't expect Sunday night to go so late for Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And got in the bed. Eyelids started getting heavy. Next thing I know, my alarm clock's going off. I'm waking up. Roman Reigns ended up winning.
You didn't see any of it?
Didn't see a second, but I caught the highlights, scrolled Twitter. It felt like everybody couldn't believe that he won. Myself
Some people hated it.
The next time somebody says, "Let me get comfortable," and stays awake would be the first time ever.
Going to be honest? You want to be totally honest?
Never happened.
I was like,
let me get comfortable.
I thought it was like a foregone conclusion. I was like, I think Cody's just going to win.
Oh, so you were
I would have bet my house.
You were like accepting the idea you might pass out, and you were like, okay.
Yeah. It wasn't like I was like fighting. I was like, I got to see this. I was like, it's 11:30. I got to get up in the morning.
The best part was I got to go backstage a little bit. I'm hanging with Ric Flair. I'm hanging with Stephen Amell.
Oh, yeah. The actor.
Mensch. Freaking Wale daps me up, tells me I'm the man.
Wow.
Wale.
Okay.
Yeah, it says next year, Wale Mania, you and me. Wow.
Wale Mania. You're gonna headline
running UFC by then, so
I'll be running it. So I'll be like, sure, just check my schedule, put some time on my calendar. I'll see if I can check it out. What about freaking Mario Lopez? Oh my God, this guy Mario Lopez. Unbelievable. So good looking in person. I mean, I was just like blown away by his
unbelievable.
Beauty. Maria Menounos back there.
Back there too. Nice.
Everyone was back there. I'm hanging with, my boys, freaking Big E's back there. Shout out TJ Wilson asking me for my thoughts on Izzy. I mean, it's just one big family. And then I'm like, man, you know what? I'm so happy that I have this big family. I go to bed. I get the Roman Reigns exclusive Saturday night. I wake up. I'm telling my wife, this is so great. I'm having so much fun covering this. And then the atomic bomb. You thought that you were on this island of like luxury and you were welcome and then just when you thought that you were completely out, they pull you back in.
That trailer guy is going to make this instantaneous.
Yeah, this is good.
He really has it.
Yeah.
He's
working on it as we speak.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited about the possibilities here. I mean, anytime something like this, something seismic like this happens, it's a fun story to follow. And so we'll see. We could speculate all we want, but let's see what happens. The UFC and man, it's going to be interesting. You know what they should do? They should get into boxing too. Just control the whole damn thing. Endeavor should get into boxing and freaking buy Matchroom. Could you imagine
there you
that?
go. Oh,
why? They've got Zuffa Boxing. Why do you need to buy Matchroom?
Exactly. That's a good point. And I'd even go through the lineup. Speaking of Matchroom, back into the show, Eddie Hearn's going to stop by to talk about, and good time to have him to talk about the Anthony Joshua fight, all that stuff and more. We'll also talk to Anthony Pettis about his big win over Roy Jones Jr. Worlds colliding once again. Kayla Harrison is going to stop by. But first up on the program, we have a man who was supposed to fight at UFC 287. Unfortunately, he's not. He's one of the brightest minds in the game, does some analyst work for ESPN and UFC as well. He's our old friend, Michael Chiesa. Michael, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
Yeah. Man, you got the whole trip. You got the whole, you had everything for Miami, huh?
I did. I did. It's unfortunate, man. Before we kind of dive into that, the first thing I want to say is I wish Lee a healthy recovery. I've had back injuries myself. They're no joke. They take time. And I hope he takes his time to come back to a full bill of health. And I wish him nothing but the best. He's a tremendous guy. He's a tremendous competitor. Would have been a really fun fight. But I just hope that he heals up very, very soon.
Classy stuff. Appreciate that. As do we. He seems like a great guy. It was a fun fight on paper. And by the way, you look fantastic. The hat, the old school. I mean, you just look tremendous. Who's on the jersey?
My boy, the equipment manager for the Knicks. He's the Woo York Knicks. Shaolin.
Oh my God, that is sick! Wow, I'm actually quite jealous. I am jealous.
And then I got this at a vintage store in Seattle. This is.
Yes. Oh my gosh. When did you find out that Lee was out?
I found out not this last Friday, but the Friday before. I was out doing a little golfing, and Danny called me with the news. And I saw the writing on the wall, Ariel. I follow the Killcliff FC Instagram page, like I follow all the other pages, and I just didn't really see him in the background at many practices. There was a point in time when I'd kind of watch the videos and kind of look for him and see if he was at wrestling practice and see what he's doing and doing my social media research. And I just kind of quit seeing him in the background of these videos, and I kind of had like a sneaky suspicion in the back of my mind, like maybe he's not, maybe something's going on with him. Maybe he's just having private practices. I know he has some of his own coaches out there, so I wasn't too sure. And then, so when the news, when Danny came through with the phone call, I wasn't as surprised as you thought I would be. But everything was just too good to be true. I was first camp back in a long time. I'm healthy. I'm injury free. Everything has gone so well, and I got this great plan for Miami, and my family's coming, my friends, and I just knew like something bad has to happen. Every training camp, every fight week, there's always something that comes up, and it just hadn't happened yet. And it just so happened the thing that did happen was me losing my opponent and losing the opportunity to compete in Miami.
Okay, so was there ever any talk of keeping you on the card, of salvaging this whole situation?
Yeah, there was, and I'm not going to name names to of the guys that were offered that turned it down because it was a matter of visa issues and some guys not being able to make weight. I'm not that type of guy to go out there and blast like, well, so-and-so turned it down. It's like, look, I'm a tough out for anybody at 170 pounds, especially if you only have a couple weeks to prepare. So, it just, nothing really came to fruition. Nico Price was lobbying hard to get in the fight, so I want to give him his flowers. Like that guy was like ready and willing to jump in, but I think the UFC had other plans for him. But just the weight issues, visa issues, things of that sort. So we just couldn't make anything happen. I found that out. I think just this last Friday. So it was like a week of being in limbo, and it was a tough week. Just like I don't have an opponent. I'm having my doubts, and I'm trying to make that final push. But when I did get the news, I'm like, I'm going to finish my training camp like I'm fighting. I found out Thursday I wasn't fighting. So I still went to practice Friday. I finished my strength conditioning on Saturday. So I can just at least say, like, I finished the camp. Like, I finished the last 2 days, the last 2 hard days. I got it done just so I can say, like, I did everything I could. And so now I just got to move on. I want Leach to recover, and hopefully him and I can do it down the road. There's one guy I think that we kind of have in mind. And I have in mind too. I would love a fight with Gunnar Nelson. I think he's a tremendous competitor. I think styles make fights. I know he's available, and I think that he's interested as well. So hopefully we can get something moving in that direction. I would even be willing to go across the pond and fight him in England in July. I've never done the whole go to enemy territory thing. So I think that'd be a fun challenge. I think that style presents a lot of challenges, and I think he's a heck of a competitor. So I think me and Gunnar Nelson would be the fight to make.
Wow, I love that one. Did you guys propose that? Are they interested?
I think that Danny was kind of already making moves, kind of pitching it. And that's about as far as it's gone, So I think that
okay.
I'm sure Gunnar would be interested in that fight. But yeah, so there was never really any fights like that were presented to us like, hey, what about this? Like we never really had like a fight that we could have taken. It was just like it was us kind of putting the offers out there, seeing what was available, and the roadblocks were weight and visa issues. So, but yeah, I think me and Gunnar would be a really fun fight and be good for the fans.
You say July, that's in 4 months, 3 months. So that means you're gonna have to do a whole other training camp.
Well, I mean, that would be ideally. I'd like to fight sooner. But with Gunnar, it's like kind of an opposite style matchup as to competing against the Leach. I was competing against a striker with a nice left hook. Going against a grappler, a guy in Gunnar Nelson. This guy got 4th at ADCC. He's got an armbar win over Jeff Munson. Like I didn't even know somebody could armbar Jeff Munson. And if the people that don't know who Jeff Munson is, he's the Snowman. Look him up. Tremendous grappler. But maybe June in Canada would be a lot of fun. I've never got to fight in Canada, but I would like to fight on a pay-per-view. Maybe International Fight Week. I know it would be another long training camp, but that's just the sport. I mean, you can't predict these things. You just don't know what's going to happen. And I want to fight that makes sense. I think me and Gunnar Nelson makes a lot of sense. And if I got to wait for that fight, I'm willing to wait a little while, but we'll see what happens.
So I'd be remiss if I don't ask you about Kevin Lee. What happened with Kevin Lee? Is there any truth to any of this? What's going on here?
Come on. When does that guy say anything that's true? I mean, this is what he's just trying to find a way to fit into the equation, or one of his little nuances. He says, no, Kevin Lee was never. So my theory is,
by the way, you just cut out there for a second. Kevin Lee was never, and then it cut out. So can you repeat that just for the record? Kevin Lee was never.
Kevin Lee was never offered to us. That was never pitched to us. That name never slid across our desk. My theory is him and Lee have the same manager, Ali. And I think that, they tried to pull the like, hey, Lee is out, but this Lee is in, so I think they tried to pitch that. And to my understanding, Sean and the UFC, they're the ones that shot it down. It wasn't shot down on our side of things. Would I love to silence Kevin Lee and shut him up? Absolutely. So that was not something that was proposed to us. I think it's something more that they proposed to the powers that be, and the powers that be said no. So don't be buying, as Nick Diaz would say, don't be buying those wolf tickets. You guys are eating up them wolf tickets.
A lot of wolf tickets from that side of the table. I know for a fact. But is that annoying? Like I say you're coming on, and I get a lot of like, make sure you ask him about Kevin Lee, why he's ducking Kevin Lee. I'm like, why would this guy duck Kevin Lee? I mean, I don't understand. But is that they're not talking about me, they're talking about you. Is that annoying that this just gets posted and then people run with it and say that you're the one ducking?
That's just what that generation of people do. They like Kevin and these young guys, like they like to just kind of throw things out there, throw things at the wall and see what sticks. Like yeah, Chiesa turned me down. Like, whatever you got to tell yourself to pump yourself up, go for it, bud, because you're going to need it, because we will fight down the line. That's a fight that's going to happen again. And I think that if I was him, I think it'd be of his best interest to take that win and run with it, because it's not going to bid very well for him if we rematch. So that fight will always be there.
Are you surprised he's back?
Huh?
You surprised he's back?
He needed better management. I mean, I think that him signing with Ali was smart. Kevin says and does a lot of stupid things, but there are some smart decisions that he makes. And I think him signing with Ali and leaving CAA was the right move. I think that him getting a win outside the promotion, sneaking by Diego Sanchez, and get himself a win, getting back in the win column also kind of shines him up a little better. But I think that was smart on his part. I think it was smart for him to go to Kill Cliff. I think it was smart for him to sign with Ali. He's doing a lot of the right things, and he's a young guy. I mean, let me put my analyst hat on, okay? I think that this guy is very young. He's got a wealth of experience against top-tier competition. I mean, he's been in there with Charles Oliveira, Edson Barboza, Tony Ferguson, myself. He's only fought top-caliber competition through his last, 8 fights in the UFC. Basically, from Francisco Trinaldo on, he's fought killers. So this is a guy with a wealth of experience, and if he can find a way to stay healthy, and if he can put himself in the right positions, meaning the camp, the training partners, the management, you put those pieces together, I think he can make another run at the title. But that run at that title will come after my time in the sport has come and gone, because if we ever fight again, I'll beat him.
Okay. And so for the record, just to repeat, you would be open to fighting him. This never came up. This was never brought to your attention. All good.
Absolutely.
By the way, what if they come to you?
The social media stuff doesn't bother me. I've been in this game too long to be bothered by the mom tweets and my phone's been blowing up with all sorts of stuff about me turning down fights. That stuff doesn't bother me, dude. I have bigger problems in my life than worrying about people chirping at me on social media.
If they come to you with him in July or June, are you down now? Like, would you take that now, or
my focus is Gunnar Nelson right now, but we'll see what happens. I mean, if that's what they come up with, sure, let's do the dance, but I think that that's the move we're trying to make, is push towards Gunnar. So, and that's a fight that I've kind of had my eyes on for a long time, but we'll see what happens.
Obviously, the last time we saw you was the Brady fight. And I don't think we've talked since. Could I ask what your thoughts are on that fight? Like, what happened? What went wrong?
Man, I've never really talked about that fight, and this is, no excuses. That was my 3rd fight in a year. I got COVID right as I was about to start training camp. So I got laid up. My first time getting COVID, I got laid up real good for like 3 weeks. Couldn't train. I came back. I actually had a good camp. So I wouldn't say that COVID really had any effect on the fight at all. It was just like, kind of like I said, the adversities you face in a training camp, in a fight week and things of that sort. So that was my adversity through that camp, was having to go through the whole COVID scare. And I just kind of respected that, he got to my back, and I just kind of wasn't ready and willing to take the risks to get out. Cause I mean, the guy's as strong as an ox. I mean, if you've ever seen him in person, he's a walking muscle. He's very, very strong. So it's like when he clamped on my back, I kind of shut down a little bit. And then once I realized, like, I'm probably down 2-0, I got to go for it. So that's when I kind of started to open up, and I had that good 3rd round, and I kind of kicked myself a little bit for not going for it sooner. And maybe I shouldn't have been back in there as soon as I was. Like, I really didn't really take a lot of time after the Luque fight. And that's the fight. If I could have any fight back more than any other one, even over the Kevin Lee fight, it would be the Luque fight. And it's not because I think I would have won. It's not something like that. It's just like my headspace on the night of the fight was just not there. Like, I had a tough camp mentally. I was by myself in Las Vegas. Like, this last time I went to Vegas, I brought my team with me. I brought my coaches, my teammates. We got an Airbnb. We were all together. The Luque camp, we were all kind of spread out. Julie was supposed to fight Nunes, so Rick was in Chicago. So I went to Vegas by myself, and I spent too much time watching film on Vicente Luque by myself, and I kind of built him up in my head. And then on fight night, I when I go back and watch that fight, I fought scared. I fought like I didn't want to take damage from him. I built him up in my head to be this absolute killer, and he is an absolute killer, but I didn't do anything to give myself the confidence to win that fight. And it just kind of, the walls just came collapsing in on me, and I lost that fight. I feel like I beat myself. I'm not saying if I rematched him, I would beat him. It's just like, I'd like to be the better version of myself mentally and get another crack at him and see how it goes. But maybe I should have taken more time off after that fight. Who knows? But it's nice that having the injury that I've had to kind of go through and mend over the course of this last year and a half. It's been nice because those losses feel so far in the past that I don't really feel like I'm like on a losing streak. I just feel like I'm just about to fight again. Like if I fought shortly after the Brady fight, I'd feel the pressure of being on back-to-back losses. And I've been here before and I know how to fight out of it. But this time off has been a blessing because it's put those so far in the past. I'm not even thinking about them. I'm just focused on whoever's next and just getting back in the win column.
And so to be clear, that was November of 21. So it's been a full year and change. And you were supposed to return here in on Saturday in early April.
Yeah.
Why no fights in 2022?
So I promised my then fiance, now wife, Kelsey Jo Berger, also now Kelsey Jo Chiesa. I promised her after the Brady fight that I would focus on planning the wedding. So, when I'm in training camp and she's asking me about flower arrangements and things like that. It's just like in one ear, out the other. I'm not even thinking about the wedding, focus on the fight. So the Brady fight gets over, we get to planning the wedding and we get a lot done. And I start thinking like, man, I think I want to get back in there. So I was on the other side of the state coaching a wrestling tournament. And when the day was over, I went to get a lift in and I was doing a shoulder press. And when I racked the weights, I just felt this pinch in my back. I was like, that felt weird. And so I just called it a night, went and laid down, and I couldn't get out of bed the next day. And it turns out I had a really, really severe disc herniation between my L3 and L4. And that was a battle for a long time. For people that don't know, like I've had a history of back issues. I had a ruptured disc before I was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson in 2016, my L5, L6. And then I think it was my L5, L6. But yeah, so I've ruptured a disc in the past. And then I had this disc herniation. And this was in the end of February 2021. And I was thinking like, you know what, maybe I will sneak one in before the wedding. I'm still in good shape. I'm still training. Like I might as well go for it. And then the injury happened and that's what sidelined me for a long time. I had a lot of epidurals. I had a couple nerve ablations. I exercised every way to mend the injury without getting back surgery. You were talking about DC earlier, our buddy. He told me, don't get the surgery. He goes, if you get the back surgery, you're never going to be the same. Like especially for me and my style, like he told me like, when he had to get his back surgery, he couldn't train wrestling the same way, so he's going into these fights against Stipe Miocic, not training the way he used to. And for me, wrestling's a big part of my style. That's a big part of my game. I get the back surgery and I can't focus on the strength that leads to me having the most success inside the octagon. That just doesn't make sense. So I just exhausted every possible way I could mend the injury. And fortunately, things have panned out and I feel good. I feel healthy. I haven't had any issues this training camp. But I do think down the line, when it's all said and done, I probably will have to get the surgery.
Damn. Well, I'm happy that you're okay now and that you were able to fight and have a full training camp with no problems. You said earlier when you were talking about, putting your analyst hat on, and I mentioned that you've been doing some great work, and I love to see. I remember us talking about this in the Fox days, and you wanting this so bad, and so I always smile when I see you do this stuff, and you're doing a tremendous job, and you've earned your spot, and you've taken the hard route and the long route, and you deserve it as much as anyone. Could I ask you to put that hat back on for a moment and talk to me about your weight class? What would you do with the 170-pound division? What would you do? Leon Edwards has been very clear about not wanting to fight Colby because he doesn't think Colby deserves it. What's your take on what's going on at the top of that weight class?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is it should be Bilal Muhammad. I just think that it should be Bilal versus Leon Edwards. You do it in July, and there's a storyline there. Like there's not really a storyline with Leon and Colby aside from what we just saw when he rematched Kamaru Usman the third time in London. Just Colby being there, that the storyline was created there, but there's just not enough substance there. And then you got Bilal, this guy that's on this insane win streak, knocking off contenders with single digits next to their name. I mean, he's getting consecutive ranked wins, tremendous win streak against good guys, and you cap it off with a finish over an undefeated prospect and Sean Brady. And you look at the history of him and Leon. He stepped in on short notice to fight him. The fight ends due to a controversial eye poke, and then they're jabbing back and forth. There's some bad blood there. Let's throw Bilal in there. He's deserving of the shot. For Colby, it's like maybe if they want to sit him, he's been sitting so long, and you, like Chael said in his exact words, you got to sweeten the pot with Colby Covington to get him to fight. So just let those two fight. And then I'm sure Colby wouldn't have, if he's waited this long, he'll wait. He wouldn't mind waiting longer. Have Bilal and Leon fight, and then the winner can fight Colby Covington. Hamzat's moved on, to my understanding, to 185 pounds. So the Colby Hamzat fight is off the table. Now, the only thing that could throw a wrench in all of this, Jorge Masvidal gets a win over Gilbert Burns, which that's unlikely, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing that's ever happened. That could be the only thing that could kind of rewrite everything I just said, because you have to strike while the iron is hot with Jorge Masvidal, because he only has so much time left, and that would be a big fight. I mean, 3-piece in the soda, the backstage altercation. There's something there between him and Leon, and it's like, would you want to risk Leon fighting somebody else if Masvidal was to beat Gilbert Burns? I'm not sure. Now, let's say Masvidal loses. I say you do Burns Colby, you do Bilal Leon. Boom.
Man, I like that. I liked it a lot. I don't know if it's going to happen that way. And I wonder, like, so if Masvidal, do you give, like, what would you say, analyst wise? Like, do you see any path to victory for him? Because I do think he wins on Saturday. He cuts a promo in front of the Miami crowd. How do you not reconsider things, right? Like, how do you not say, maybe we should go this route? Because he's going to come across as a megastar, right? Like, that place is going to go insane if he wins, right? Is this a pipe dream, though? Is there no shot of it happening?
Anything can happen. Like, when that octagon door closes, man, anything can happen. We've seen some of the greatest upsets. We've seen Ronda Rousey lose to Holly Holm, TJ Dillashaw step up on short notice and fight Hernan Barao. Like, we've seen massive underdogs come through in the biggest moments. Could Masvidal win? I mean, it would be unreal. I mean, Miami is going to, the top on that arena is going to absolutely explode. Like, I don't even know what you call it, Miami-Dade Arena. FTX is no longer in existence. So, right. Miami-Dade Arena is going to blow up. And there are paths to victory for Jorge Masvidal. I mean, he's as explosive of a striker as we've ever seen, and he's savvy. He's a veteran. He knows how to train smart. I was really impressed. I listened to his Joe Rogan interview, and he's got a very high fight IQ. I think I've always known he's a pretty savvy fighter, but not as much as I thought I knew. Like, when listening to him on Rogan, he's a really smart guy. Burns has been knocked out. So there's something there. I would say it's not a puncher's chance, but there's a chance. But I mean, Gilbert Burns, the world champion level jiu-jitsu, he's got knockout power in both hands. That's a tall order for Jorge Masvidal. So I do think that if he wins, he could rewrite the script of this plan that they have for Leon Edwards and Colby Covington. I think that it would be smart. I don't really know if Colby should be rewarded the fight with Leon Edwards. I know he stepped up on short notice and made weight, but like, anybody would do that. Bilal would have done it. Right. Masvidal would have done it. Burns would have done it, especially if they knew, like, hey, if you come here and make weight, like, you'll get the next title fight. Anybody would have done that. So can Masvidal go out there and play spoiler? I guess we'll find out on Saturday.
By the way, what do you make of this? And it's very fresh, and you may not have any thoughts. I don't even know what my thoughts are, to be honest. But this UFC, WWE stuff, as a UFC fighter, what are your thoughts when you saw it? What were you thinking?
It doesn't come as a surprise. The UFC's just got so much momentum right now. And I think that you put the two together, you can make for some interesting crossovers. Are we going to get Brock Lesnar back? Do we see Brock Lesnar, John Jones? Who knows? It is a lot to digest, but I do think it's good for the sport. I think it's good for wrestling. I think it's good for MMA. I think there's good personalities that could jump on both sides. Imagine Biggie doing backstage interviews, or something like that. Like, there's a lot of cool things you can do, and I like it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the UFC, Dana and Ari, I think they know what they're doing. And we'll see what happens. It is a lot to digest, though. We just became this superpower in the sports entertainment world. It's insane.
It really
Are they going to allow
chairs?
Like, can I jump off the top of the octagon now? Like, let's say, like, you jump
I
off
feel
the
like
top
the possibilities are endless.
5-star
The
frog
possibilities
splash
are endless. It's really insane to think about how far the UFC has come, right? To be in this position to where now they are under the same umbrella as WWE and valued higher than the WWE is really, like, you know what I mean? Like, when you consider the early days of Zuffa owning it, and when you consider the dark days of the late 90s, it's really surreal to see how far the sport has come. And by the way, not that long, right? That was not that long ago, 20 something years when Zuffa bought it. And then of course the sale just 7 years ago. And initially people thought that maybe they had paid too much for it. And now look at it. It's being valued at $12 billion. So crazy time.
That's crazy. It's
just
wild.
insane.
It's wild.
Can I ask you before I let you go? And I don't know if you can do this. I don't know if you're working or not, but Izzy or Pereira, who do you think wins?
Oh yeah, I can do this. I can do this all day.
Okay.
I'm not working. And by the way, someone that is working is Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier will be making his debut as an analyst for ESPN. And I told Dustin when I saw him, I think I saw him in Texas at a pay-per-view. I said, dude, when are you going to do the desk? I want to hear from Dustin Poirier. I think he's got a brilliant mind for combat sports. I love his mentality. So I'm excited to see him at the desk and see how he does. And I'm excited to someday hopefully sit next to him at the desk and talk fights. But I think Izzy takes it. Do I have a little bit of a bias? Yes, but I will remove that from the equation. And I will say, I think that Izzy is just one of those moments where there was a lapse in his guard for one moment. And it just, in Pereira was able to capitalize with that left hook that he's just known for closing the show with. And I think that Izzy will be savvy to it. I think that there will be more wrestling incorporated into this fight. And let's not forget, he had a lot of success with the hands. I think that he's going to come back refreshed. He's going to come back hungry. And I think that he's going to shine as the challenger. I feel like he really shined as a challenger, making his way up when he finished Derek Brunson, when he was out there just styling on guys. I think we're going to see that Izzy again, but a little more shades of wrestling to his game. And who knows how bad of a cut Pereira had, because, I mean, he didn't really have this fight was announced with like 9 weeks of a camp. And when you're that big of a fighter and you got to make a 40 to 50 pound cut, you need all the time you can get. Is that going to come back to kind of bite him in the butt? It remains to be seen. But I do think we're going to see a better version of Izzy on Saturday night.
The one thing I worry, though, you get knocked out, you come back so soon. I agree with you. I thought he looked great. He was seconds away from stopping him in the first round. And I still maintain it was an early stoppage, but I feel like I'm the only one who's left on that island. Point is, come back so soon after a knockout. Historically, the guy who loses the belt and comes back in the immediate rematch doesn't win that fight. That's as far as Izzy is concerned, that is my worry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just for Izzy coming back too soon, I don't worry about it with him because those kickboxers, dude, they're built different. Like it's different when you're a high level professional kickboxer. Like you could get dropped and knocked out a couple times in a fight and come back and win. They fight a little more frequently. They fight they fight opponents multiple times. Like, you look back at some of the greatest kickboxers ever, they've fought certain guys like 2, 3, 4 times, So I think for him, he knows what he's doing. I don't think it's too soon. The stoppage, I'm on the fence about. Pereira, you got to look at look at the fight, and you look and see that Pereira's got Izzy hurt, and this is a guy that's an absolute destroyer. I mean, one moment where he could have framed him up and kneed him could have really put Izzy out for a long time. So, was it an early stoppage? Was it a just stoppage? It was a stoppage. I don't think it was right. I don't think it was wrong. I think it was just in the moment. Maybe that's what should have been done.
Great to hear from you. Great to have you on as always, Mike. I'm sorry that you're not fighting this weekend. I love that fight. I thought it was a great bounce back fight for you. Would have been very fun, but I also love this Gunnar Nelson idea. I'm not going to lie. I love that a lot. I like that a lot. So I hope that you get it and get a fun enemy territory fight. That would be fun as well. Or go to Canada. All these things are fun. So glad to hear that you're okay, that the back is okay, and hopefully we see you back out there sooner rather than later. Thanks as always for coming on. I love the setup, by the way, the wood and everything.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
When my entry to Spokane after I won the Ultimate Fighter, when all my wrestlers came and met me at the airport, I'm holding the sign up. It's a legendary.
Oh, that's
photo.
amazing. I love that. That's amazing. Thanks, man. Talk to you soon.
Knicks.
Appreciate
it.
Playoff
Spot secured. Let's go Knicks, baby. Knicks for life. Let's go.
Let's go. I love that. And yes, Michael Chiesa just reminded us the playoffs are secured. We are going to the playoffs. We, the capital W, we. And I was also reminded that I called it Staples. No one corrected me. I guess it's always going to be Staples, right? This crypto. Is crypto.com still a thing? I'm not sure.
It'll always be Staples.
It'll always be Staples to us. Yeah, it's hard to focus because there's just so much going on with this news. But I mean, ultimately, and I didn't say this. I don't think I said it. Maybe I did. What a grand slam for Endeavor. you now run these two entities. I mean, it felt far-fetched that Comcast would own it, that a network would own it. Saudi Arabia one, all right, I could see that happening. They're obviously very aggressive. They love pro wrestling and all that stuff. But this one, I mean, for Endeavor, what a grand slam. They have now gone from just being a talent agency to a sports media conglomerate where they own entities and they actually own the product, and now they go out and get deal. I mean, it's just gigantic. The word seismic comes to mind. So a lot to unpack. Let's talk to our next guest. It's been a while since we talked to her. It's been several months, and I wanted to check in on her and with her. Considering the PFL's back, they had their first show of the official season. Of course, they had the Europe show 2 weeks ago. They're on a roll as well. They had their show over the weekend, and Brendan Loughnane, the big winner against one Marlon Moraes. She is still, in my opinion, the face of the PFL, the most recognizable name on the roster, the one that we all think about when we think of the PFL. She's the one and only Kayla Harrison. Kayla, are you there?
What up, Hilwani?
Wow, Kayla, that is amazing. Where are we? Are we at ATT? Is this Mako Monday?
Mako Monday just finished. I literally just took a 37-second shower. We are in my beautiful home.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you doing this. Sorry for stressing you out, but it's great to hear from you. It's great to see you. There's a lot to discuss. I was thinking about you, and I asked you to come on. You're like, what do you want to talk about? I mean, what are we not going to talk about? There's so much to talk about. The last time we spoke, I mean, just seeing you smile and laugh here is great, because the last time it was a bit somber. I mean, your eyes were puffy. I was like, the shades were closed. I was like, what is happening here? This is not the Kayla that I know. This is not the alpha female that I know. Are we feeling better now?
Yeah, honestly, one of the best things to ever happen to me in terms of my career.
Why? Why do you say that? A lot of people say that. Why are you telling us the truth?
Because, man, I just like. Are we going deep? Are we going to go deep right now? Can we just go ahead and go deep?
I could use a little deep. Yes, please.
So after I lost, there was a lot of underlying things happening, health-wise, personal-wise, family-wise. And after I lost, I sort of had like a crisis, like a little bit of a crisis. Like, I was this undefeated fighter. I am the sole provider for my family. I had what I felt like was the weight of the world on my shoulders. And I kind of got to that point where, in my opinion, real growth happens. And that's when you just totally say, like, fuck it, I can't do this on my own anymore. Like, I would say surrender. I surrendered, like I got to the place where I was like, I am no longer capable of managing my life, like trying to control everything, trying to be everything, trying to do everything, trying to win everything, trying to be perfect, the perfect mom, the perfect fighter, the perfect friend, the perfect daughter, like, it just got to be too much. And I went to Panama with a friend for 7 days, and I turned my phone off. And I only FaceTimed my kids in the morning and at night. And the rest of the time I was off technology. And I just really had I had a spiritual awakening almost. Like I stopped. And when I stopped trying to be all of these things, I realized that I am already exactly who I'm meant to be. And that fighting is great. And I still love it. And I want to do it. And I want to win. And I want to be the best. And like, it's okay. Like, everything is okay. All is well. Like, how like Eckhart Tolle and all these like, I don't know. I had like a spiritual awakening where I just realized like none of this shit really matters. And also my life is so fucking awesome. Like, I'm alive right now. I'm alive.
Yes.
My kids are healthy. I'm healthy. I get to do what I love every day with people that I enjoy doing it with. I don't have a fight. So that's a little bit like, that's hard for me just because I'm a very goal-oriented person. And I'm learning to have patience, and I'm learning to accept things as they come. And if if God says I have to sit for a year, then I have to sit for a year. But I know that I'll be ready when the call does come.
When you say spiritual awakening, like it's a great thing to hear, and I get it and I believe it, but how does that happen? When does it happen? Like what?
Do you
Like you
want to
just
know,
wake
like
up?
legit, like logistically,
Yeah.
like what happened?
Well, I
Okay.
just like what happens? Like what do you turn off the phone and then you're just walking around and all of a sudden it's just like, wait
No,
a
okay.
second.
So all right. So the first day I went on a hike, and my friend was like, okay, we're gonna do a silent hike, no talking.
Wow.
And he said it's gonna be about 5 miles. And so in my head, my competitive head, I'm like, all right, win the hike. And so I start taking off. And he stops and he's like, we're just gonna hike. The object is to just be. You don't have to win anything. Just be. And I was like, okay, like this is some weird hippie, like I was like, whatever. And so I get to the first hill. And when I was young, my mom made me run cross country because she ran cross country. She wanted me to be a runner. Turns out I'm a fighter, not a runner. And we were taught to power through the hills. Like you power through them and then you stride out when you go down. So the first hill, I power through it and I get to the top and I feel so good about myself. And I'm like, I beat that hill's ass. And then we're walking and we get to the second hill. And dude, in the middle of the hill, it was like almost as if I couldn't take another step. Like I was like, in my head, I was like, fuck this. I don't want to finish this hike. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that is something that I have never voiced or said or done when it comes to talking back to a coach, when it comes to not doing the right thing, when it comes to anything. Like, so I turned to him and I said, I don't want to finish this hike. I broke the silent thing and I used my voice. And the second that I used my voice, dude, it was like this, like I sound so crazy. I know I sound
I
crazy,
love
but
it.
I like strong gust of wind, like whoosh, was like, it was
Whoa.
like God was like, boom, there you go. You just found your voice. And so then we sat down and we talked about it. And he was like, yeah, you can you're allowed to say no to people. You're allowed to say like, no, that's not okay with me, or that's not what's best for me, or thank you, but no thanks. And then, dude, there were so many little things that happened. It was almost like the second I got quiet and I got still and I stopped distracting myself and trying to earn things and do things and have all this external validation, the second that I just had to sit and be, like, that's when I could hear God. And that's when a very profound, I just had to stop. Like I've always been a woman of faith and I've always believed and I've always prayed for peace, internal peace, because I've never really felt that. And the second that I got still and I got quiet and I just chilled the fuck out, like that peace just washed over me. And all of the pain from my past, like my childhood trauma and my relationship traumas and the shit with my dad and the health shit I've been going through and all of that stuff sort of just it was removed from me. Like I no longer carry that pain anymore. And now I have a peace that I can't explain.
I love it. Wow. That is incredible to hear. I'm very happy because it's a totally different person that we spoke to back in late November. In retrospect,
I
did you
know.
take that too hard? Like you were talking about
No.
how it was just a loss. Like it doesn't define you. Why were you so
No,
why were
it
you so
doesn't. It
distraught
doesn't
over it?
define me. I mean, everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen. Um, and I still hate the fact that I lost. I'm still a warrior. I'm still a badass. I'm still itching to get back inside the cage. You know how hard it is? People are like, so have you retired? Like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, I'm still fighting. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
retired. I'm not even close to done yet. So, of course, I think in the moment it was just so, it was hard. Like, that sounds silly, but it means a lot to me what I do. I take pride in how I carry myself and what I do. And and showing up and being the best version of me. And that night I wasn't. So it was hard. And it was also exactly what I needed.
And so I think the reason why people are saying that to you is because like here comes the PFL and we see the lineups and you're nowhere to be found. And we see Pacheco fighting this weekend, right? And so like, so what is going on? Are you like a prisoner?
Well, I wanted to be in the season.
You did?
No. So yes, and some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. Of course I wanted to be in the season. I'm not like, the second the tournament was over, the second I lost, I said, okay, I wrote down my goals. I was like, 145-pound champ, going to be in the season, avenge my loss, boom, 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 boom. I had all my key areas of focus, and that's not in the cards for me. That's not what they want to do. They want me to fight in the
I don't understand. Why wouldn't they want you? Why wouldn't they want you a part of the season? Now we're getting, because how many fights do you have left? Two. Was that the problem?
I don't know. I think that I get paid a lot of money. I think that they feel like that's not the best way to utilize me. I think that they want to put me on a pay-per-view card against a big name. And you know what? I was like I've been a little bit depressed about it. And like, it's hard to watch something you helped build. Like, no matter how awakened and like peaceful I am, like the world still is moving forward and I'm sitting right here. Sometimes that's hard, like sometimes it's hard, like shit. I want to do that. I want to fight. I don't want to just talk about fighting. I want to fight. So that's frustrating. But I again, like a lot of the things that I'm doing now, I wouldn't have, like my kids had spring break. We went camping for the first time, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was in the season. I wouldn't have been able to spend the time that I'm spending with my children now if I had a fight booked, once every 8 weeks. So I'm just trying to take the good with the bad and realize that it's all happening the way it's meant to happen.
Do they have to give you those 2 fights by a certain time?
Mm-hmm.
What's that cut?
November? I think November or December.
Of this year?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to get 2 fights in before November? It's already April.
I hope so.
What happens if they don't?
They pay me and...
Oh, you get paid regardless?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great deal. I hope you don't get the fights. Just get paid.
Don't say that.
Why?
Do not.
Isn't that amazing?
In the universe. No.
Isn't that the dream?
I'm one of those weird people who really wants to fight.
Okay, fair enough. Wow, you've come a long way.
That'd be like you taking a paycheck and not waking up and stirring the pot every day. Like how? Like would that
what
be
a dream?
fun?
Are you kidding me? I'd be the happiest person on earth. Don't have to do this job. Be incredible and still get paid the same. My God, that was a bad analogy. I'll take that in a second. What are you talking about? Who wouldn't want that deal?
I thought you loved your job.
I mean, come on. I mean, here I am. It gets tiring stirring the pot this much. So what happens after November?
I'm free.
You're a free agent again. We're going through that whole process all over again.
No. I'm unrestricted. There's no 30 days. There's no matching rights. There's no nothing. The day it ends is the day it ends.
Wow. Can I just ask? I mean, you could say, but are these your last 2 PFL fights?
I don't know.
Okay. Have they talked about extending? What is that smile? That was an interesting smile after the
I
don't know.
Talk to anyone because I'm just out here like watering my plants and feeding my chicken, doing Mako Mondays.
I get it. Isn't it nice though? I mean, everyone's grinding, playoffs, this and that, season, worrying about all this, and you're just chilling.
Oh, I mean, it's nice. It's nice in the sense that like I've done 2-a-days since I was 12 years old. So that's 20 years of putting my body through absolute hell. So it's nice. Like I have started cooking and I'm like, like weaving baskets, not literally, but
you're a full-fledged mom at this point.
I'm a mom and I still get to train once a day and I'm sharpening the tools and I'm staying, I'm getting better. So it's nice. And I want to fight. Like I really want to fight.
Have they given you an indication when this fight could be?
I don't know what
Nothing.
I'm supposed to say.
Oh, you can say they love me at the PFL. Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? They're huge fans. Peter,
Sturdy.
Ray, Don and I are practically BFF. He invited me to go sit at. He invited me to be his guest at the season premiere this past weekend. I was at WrestleMania. I couldn't make it. I was at WrestleMania. There's a lot
can
going
I ask
on.
you some questions? What's going on? What's going to happen now? What's Like, what does this mean?
They're together. The mega powers have collided. Isn't that crazy? UFC and WWE together under one umbrella. What does it mean? It means that they're now a media behemoth, a conglomerate of sorts. The parent company is Endeavor. And I mean, from a TV standpoint, from a media rights standpoint, from a streaming standpoint, from a sponsorship standpoint, from an event standpoint,
this is like they just took over everything.
They took over everything. And then could you imagine they get into boxing? Now they just take over all of combat sports. Why not? Also, what about the personalities? All these guys working together? Sheesh. Right?
Do you think that, how do you think it's going to affect the,
show is this, by the way? Who's asking the questions around here? What's going on?
Be a UFC champion is this is the highest of the high, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's going to tarnish it at all? Because the other stuff is fake. So.
No, it's two separate entities. People know the difference. People listen.
They do.
Here's the important. I think so. Here's the important thing. I'd like to think so. Here's the important thing. The WWE did not buy the UFC, right? Endeavor bought them. So they're just they own they own
the same umbrella. It's really big for Endeavor.
It's gigantic for Endeavor. It's like a freaking stroke of genius. They own bull riding. They own all kinds of things. So it's just another thing in the portfolio, a massive thing. But if it was like Vince McMahon running UFC, I can understand where you're coming from. But it's not. Is there going to be some cross promotion? Is there going to be some synergy? I'm sure. It'd be foolish to think otherwise. But as I've always said, Kayla, the roots of MMA are in pro wrestling, and this finally confirms, as I've tried to tell you.
How can you say that the roots of MMA are in pro wrestling when MMA stands for mixed martial arts? Yes. What is mixed martial arts? It's the martial arts, okay? What is that deeply rooted in? In respect, in culture, in mutual welfare, like.
You're insulting me at this point with these comments.
It's an art. It's different.
It's not a show? It's not a show? Are you kidding me?
It is now. It is become.
Rich coming from you, the promo queen, cutting promos left and right. It's not a show. I mean, come on. With the walkouts and the music and all the ramps. What are you talking about? Let me tell you something. If it wasn't a show, no one would care. They wouldn't care about any of it. The more it is a show, the more they care. Jorge Masvidal on Saturday is going to cut a promo in Miami, and that's all going to be pro wrestling. Guess what? Pro wrestling is more real than life. Politics is pro wrestling is everywhere, whether you like it or not, okay? Just talk to Dan Lambert. He'll tell you all about it. He has a whole room full of pro wrestling belts.
Three-way him in right now because he will just he'll bury me. He'll bury me with the pro wrestling.
He's going to be very upset with these comments.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
It's life.
No, it's exciting.
It mirrors life. By the way, maybe that it's the dream. Two fights PFL. God bless. You go over to UFC. We finally get Kayla versus Ronda, the grudge match to end all grudge matches. Who is the face of American judo?
Nobody would buy that.
Are you crazy? That would be insane.
There are 9,000 judoka in America, so 9,000 buys.
Gigantic. You think she does it? You think she takes the fight?
For sure.
I don't think so.
I think so. She's got she has 2 wins over me in judo. So I feel like she would have that confidence.
What year? What year were those wins?
I don't know.
Over a decade ago, probably, right? At this point?
Yeah, over a decade ago, but still.
No.
She's she's got that big sister.
Nah. You're on a roll. You're killing it.
What's she doing? Did she do WrestleMania? Okay, back to
WrestleMania. It was a very it was nothing. Yeah, it was nothing. Listen,
you weren't impressed?
No, I went to get a pretzel. Listen, you versus Cyborg. You versus Cyborg. Is this the fight? Is this the pay-per-view fight?
I think that that's a fight to make. Yeah.
Have they talked to her?
I think so.
Oh, wow. 'Cause I don't understand her situation. Is she a free agent? Is she not a free agent? What's going on?
I think she's like a restricted free agent.
Hmm.
I think Bellator
But
has
this,
matching rights, but I don't know.
if it's a
Like, this is all
pay-per-view fight with
hearsay.
you, who are you going to fight on
Uh,
a pay-per-view other than her? You can't fight Pacheco
I
again, right?
don't
Because she's in
know.
the right.
Right. Right. Unless she misses weight.
Hmm. And then they just remove her from the season.
I have no idea. I mean,
Do you have it?
listen, I like props to Pacheco. Like, she's got a chance to win another million. As long as she can make weight, I feel like it's kind of smooth sailing for her. Yeah, I'd fight in the season too. I wouldn't wait for PFL to organize this. Like, she's got to take care of her.
Have they told you when they hope to do this pay-per-view?
Yeah, well, yeah. I just don't know if I'm supposed to say.
Oh, got it. And is Jake Paul involved?
Jake Paul is involved in the PFL.
Sure. How do you feel about that? Like if he's going to be like the face of this pay-per-view situation?
I feel good. I feel good. He's a
Okay.
disruptor. PFL is trying to be a disruptor. He's obviously a huge deal, and he can also really scrap. So
Mm.
it's not like we're talking about putting, you know, I mean, yeah, he's a YouTuber, but he can wrestle, he can box.
Oh, you think he fights? You think he actually fights?
I hope so. I would love to see that.
Mm.
I would love to get him his butt to ATT so I can see where he's at. If
Oh,
he's going to take over
wow.
the PFL, then I need to make sure that his shoulders are strong.
I
You
like
know what I'm
this.
saying?
So you're extending the invitation for him to come train with you at ATT. I think he spends time
Yeah,
in Florida. He's
yeah.
not too far. Yeah,
I have no idea. I mean, I'm not on the up and up of what's happening, but
sure.
yeah, no, I would like to help him. And that I'm not
Wow.
trying to sound condescending. I just mean like
No, I know.
I take pride in what we've built and I want to help carry on the legacy.
I love that. I love that idea.
Like
So the
Dakota, like Dakota comes and trains at ATT. I think she's going to be the next, big star for PFL. I love watching these people find success through other avenues. This is what it's all about. Like where I was in judo is because of the things that like Anne Maria DeMars did and Lynn Rothke did and Jean Kanakogi. Like I stood on their shoulders, right? So everything that's happening now, Rhonda, Misha, Cyborg, Amanda, like I'm standing on their shoulders. Like the goal is for people like Dakota to stand on my shoulders. It's not for me to be the greatest of all time forever and ever and ever and ever, period. Like I want people to
yeah.
surpass what I do. That's what everyone should want, right? We want to continue to grow and get better and evolve and adapt and help people. But right now
So
it's
if it
about
was up,
me.
no, I know. Listen, we're not done yet. So if it was up to you,
We are not done yet.
pay-per-view at some point this year. First one, Cyborg. Who's the second one? Would it be Cyborg Pacheco? And then you say, you know, peace, I'm out of here. I feel like the competitor in you can't leave without getting that one back against Pacheco.
Yes. I feel like that would be Kayla's perfect world. And we don't live in Kayla's perfect world. So I'm not holding on to anything. I'm not like, I'm going with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for anyone. I'm ready.
But you are much happier. You seem happier. Like I could see it. It was tough to see you in that state when we last spoke. I appreciated you coming on, but it was tough. But you seem like you're oozing happiness. You're content. You're at peace. I feel it. I feel it. It's lovely.
Yeah. No, I am at peace. And yeah, I mean that is just another part of my journey. I had to go through that to get to where I'm going. So I'm grateful for it all. The highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the sideways, the whatever. It's all good.
I love it. Well, we did have a lot to talk about, and I didn't even know you were going to talk about all this stuff. So I had
know.
a
And
premonition.
I was like, I'm pretty sure he's just going to ask me about, what am I doing? Am I going to fight
No, I just wanted to check
Cyborg?
in. friends.
I'm
you
so
know, we're
glad you
pals.
did. How are you?
Yeah.
How's everything?
I'm doing great. You know, I'm here, doing my thing, and
You're doing a lot.
this is actually,
You're like basketball, WWE, blah, 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 blah. You are like so many hats.
it's the Helwani verse, and we're all just living in it.
Oh, are we?
Mm, at least I am. At least I am. I guess
Okay.
you
All
don't
right.
want to be
That's all that
living
matters. That's all that matters.
Kayla, you're the best. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope we see you soon. And yeah, if you need me to give him a bit of a kick in the butt to get this pay-per-view thing, I could call up Jake. I could call up Don. You know, just let me know what you need from me.
You know what?
Right?
I would appreciate that. If you
All
can
right,
just
I'm on
like
it. I'm on it.
do that
I'm on
thing
it.
that you do.
I've always wanted to
You're
be your
on it?
manager. You know that. You know that. So just let me know.
Oh, it would be, we'll talk about what is it?
Okay, we'll talk
WWE
offline. Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
that too. Oh my God, that'd be insane.
Can you
Versus Ronda,
imagine us?
WrestleMania 40, WrestleMania
We would
40,
just
you versus
no,
Ronda,
like we
you'd
would
smoke her.
literally take over.
You would
We
mop
would
the
take
floor with
over.
her. It would be a
And
10-second
you on the
drubbing.
mic,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
just
You know
spitting
yourself,
bars.
Kayla. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I appreciate you very
I'm
much.
out of
God
here.
bless. Talk to you soon.
Have a great day. All right.
There she is, Kayla Harrison joining us. That would be incredible, right? Kayla versus Ronda, WrestleMania 40, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Oh, you know yourself, Kayla. You know yourself. All right, coming up next, we've got Eddie Hearn, the face of not only Matchroom Boxing, but the darts world as well. They're coming to America in June, but of course, we're not talking about darts here. We have a lot of important things to talk to Eddie about. He was just at the O2 on Saturday. The return of Anthony Joshua, that was a very big one. The big win over Jermaine Franklin. All kinds of things going on in the world of Eddie Hearn. He's all over the place. I don't know where he is right now in the world right now. As they say in Europe, he's all over the gaff, but in a good way. Eddie, how are you?
I'm all over the gaff, Ariel.
Are you?
No, I'm all good. I'm all good. No, we had a good night in London and a little bit of R&R and off to San Antonio for a show this weekend. So all busy as usual.
An incredible stretch, and congratulations on the great event on Saturday. I want to talk to you. Originally, if I'm being honest, I wanted to talk to you about that win and where this leads for Anthony and whatnot. But I have to say, I felt like it was a stroke of genius when I saw the news come out this morning, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Eddie about this. WWE and UFC, Eddie, as a guy in this world as well. What was your reaction when you found out about this Endeavor now owning both entities?
Amazing. I mean, it was an incredible move. What a powerhouse of companies. I mean, two businesses that we look up to a lot, really, in terms of the modeling, the brand values, certainly the consumer base in and out of the ring, and UFC, WWE. How many times have I said to you, Ariel, I tell our team all the time, watch what they do, look how they do it, and get as close as you can in the boxing world, really. So yeah, it's an interesting move, and let's see what they do now in terms of boxing, because obviously that's the one missing for them. But it's a tough business. Maybe they want to stay in things they can control.
So funny that you just said that. So interesting, because I was just hypothesizing at the top of the show. All right, so they got pro wrestling, they got MMA. Do you think that that's what they're going to try to do?
I don't know. I mean, look, successful sports businesses have a huge amount of control. Going back to your favourite sport in the world, darts. Obviously, we own the PDC, which essentially owns darts. In snooker, which is one of your other favourite sports, we own World Snooker, which essentially is the sport. In boxing, in wrestling, they don't own wrestling, but more or less they own wrestling. Mixed martial arts, they don't own mixed martial arts, but of course, more or less. So they have a huge control and domination within the sport. Boxing's very difficult to do that. We know that over the years. There's been a lot of financial institutions. There's been a lot of promotional companies that have received investment that have gone, it's our, we want to create a new belt. We want to, run the sport of boxing. And globally, we are the only promotional company that has been able to have that effect globally. We don't own boxing, but we are the only global promotional company that is building the value of boxing, matchroom, our fighters in international territories. There are individual promotional companies in individual territories, but we do something different. But I don't know, I've always looked at Dana and boxing. I think he'd find it very difficult and frustrating to not be able just to say to people, just to let you know, you're fighting on that date and that's who you're fighting, and I'll see you there. I'm very jealous of that model. We've said it before, but it seems like in boxing, every single fight is a game of tug of war with fighters, coaches, lawyers, managers, agents, and it's very frustrating. And I don't know whether they'd be up for that fight.
Do you have a number in mind? If someone like Endeavor came to you and said, we'd like to buy Matchroom, do you have a number in mind?
Quite honestly, we're not really for sale. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation. For us, Ariel, we are a family business. We have had a huge amount of interest from hedge funds and investment companies to buy a piece of Matchroom. We have a great business. We don't need their money, but also we understand that our model of growth can be, rapidly sped up by involvement from that sector. And myself and my father, who are really the decision makers of the business, he is completely adverse to anyone telling him what to do. He would rather die. So, but and that's how we've always run our business. We make the decisions. So, and we have a fantastic, just a great feeling within the business in general, with our team, with our employees, with the management. You look at our senior management, they're all young executives that have grown from 15, 16, 17 within the business. Matt Poulter with the darts, Emily Fraser on motorsports, Frank Smith in the boxing. And, we're very proud of the business that we've built, and we don't want to lose the fun of that business. We also understand I have particularly a mission to create a WWE or a UFC for boxing. And I can do that. I can dominate over time just by consistency and ability and hard work. But that process can be sped up enormously through aggressive investment. And that's something that, we are being approached about at the moment. It's not selling the business, but it could be a stake in the business that makes that process, like I said, a rapid expansion and to dominate the world of boxing faster than we will do anyway, which I feel like is inevitable. Call me arrogant. I believe in ourselves, but that's the model that we have and the conversations that we have. Whether that's a bigger conversation with Endeavour, who knows? But for today, that's huge news in the fight sports marketplace, if you like.
Could you tell us who you're talking to about that?
No, but if you Google it, you'll see. But it's out there.
Okay, all right. But not everything you read on Google is legit.
No, but we're in confidential conversations, of course, and it's not something we looked for. It's not something we might do, in all honesty,
right? Because
it's a big change for our business. But it's a serious decision that we will have to make over the coming months.
What did you think of AJ? I saw your comments afterwards. A couple of days later, he gets to win over Jermaine Franklin, and gets back on track, gets his mojo maybe a little bit back, his confidence back. Nice to get a W on the record. But overall, what did you make of his performance?
I thought it was the best way to describe it was solid, not spectacular. There's a lot of people that are criticising the performance. One of them was Dillian White, who had a very close fight with Franklin. AJ won the fight comfortably on Saturday night. Comfortably. I felt like at times he should have been more aggressive. I feel like, if we're going to be honest, and I think everyone would have seen the same thing, at times he looked like he lacked a bit of confidence and belief. But at the same time, he hasn't won a fight since December 2020. He's had three trainers in his last 3 fights. And if he lost on Saturday night, his career was over. So all in all, there was a lot of pressure. I think that, I've been speaking to him a lot since the fight. We've been going through the fight, going through his performance. The general feeling is we need another fight. A step up from Franklin. But in order to gel and continue improving with Derek James, we need another fight in the summer of that nature. We also know that the Tyson Fury fight, you know, whether that's even possible, may be a summer fight, and that might be the only chance, you know. So it's a difficult decision next. I think if we're doing it with a view to keep improving and to create longevity and to get him to his best, then we should have another fight. And momentum is key for AJ. You know, he's boxed like twice a year, sometimes once a year through COVID for the last 3 or 4 years. I want him to box in July and then again in December. And I think it will do him really good to have a couple of weeks off now and go straight back to Texas with Derek Jones.
Does he agree with you? Another fight, all that? Or is he saying, get me Tyson?
No, I mean, look, every fighter always wants the biggest fights. And, you know, it's difficult, Ariel, like, being honest. The fans, it's hard to have a conversation with the fans and the broadcaster even to say, I think he needs another fight like that. You know, every fan, every broadcaster is going to say, give us Fury, give us Wilder. And I feel like he's got to be a little bit selfish at this point in his career. And at the end of the day, the money, you know, is going to be the money. If you don't have a fight that's a blockbuster, the money's going to be the money. But if you want to get yourself in a position to win the blockbusters, then this is the route that you should be taking. Because I feel like another fight with Derek James, reinforce that confidence, believe in what he's doing. I believe he's going to be in better shape in December, mentally and emotionally and physically, for the Furies and the Wilders. But it's going to be very tempting in the meantime, if those fights can get made, to not jump straight in.
You mentioned solid but not spectacular. Would it be fair to say you were disappointed, or was that what you were expecting out of him in this first fight back?
I was
fight with the new trainer.
Yeah, I was relieved to get the win, in all honesty, because, you know, I felt he'd win, but he hasn't won for, you know, it's coming up to 3 years since he won a fight, you know, and there was a huge amount of pressure. Everyone starts talking on fight week, lose, and it's retirement. And they were probably right. So I was a bit disappointed. I said to him last night, I want to see you manhandle people like that in a clinch. You know, I want to see you brutalize them to the body, hit them around the side of the face and head. And when he did that in the closing rounds, he looked really dangerous, you know. But a lot's happened, you know. I think sometimes we can expect a little bit too much, and we expected AJ to go in and destroy him. So in that respect, some were a little bit disappointed, but maybe in reality, looking at, you know, the emotions after the Usyk fight, looking at the new trainer, looking at the move, you know, I'm sitting here happy on Monday, knowing that we're planning his next fight for July.
Can I tell you my big takeaway from that performance? And I hope you don't get offended by this. My big takeaway watching that on Saturday was Francis Ngannou could beat this guy. This isn't the craziest thought. People laughed at the notion of Francis versus AJ. This is a much closer fight than I think. If that AJ, and I'm not trying to say that I think the world of Francis, and I know he's, you know, the debutante, so to speak, in boxing, but I think this is a much closer fight. I think Francis has a better shot against Francis than he does against someone like Tyson, given the style matchup. Am I crazy for saying that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, firstly, you cannot in a million years, with Francis Ngannou's ability in boxing and pedigree in boxing, go in and compete technically, skill-wise, not just with AJ, but with any top 20 heavyweight in the world. But in that division, the difference is what you can do is you can knock someone out, right? So it doesn't matter whether Francis fights Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, I agree with you, horrible fight for Francis Ngannou because he just poked him around. And Deontay Wilder, Dillian White, Derek Chisora, Jermaine Franklin. He has no chance against those guys other than to be aggressive, trade up, and catch someone clean and take him out. So I think that you are right in your statement in that, yes, I think that people, it's not just Francis Ngannou, people would give fighters a much better chance against AJ having watched that performance. In your world, that translates to Francis Ngannou. And why not? You know, I mean, I don't feel like it's a fight that's going to continue the development of Anthony Joshua under his new trainer. But, I had lunch with Francis Ngannou there. I mean, you know his story. I was completely gobsmacked by the story of this man. I mean, we sat for 2 hours and I was just listening to just the most remarkable. I mean, how this isn't a film, I have no idea. I mean, unbelievable. I'm sitting there. I'd like to feel like I'm far from naive, but I'm sort of asking, well, how did you get from there to there? And like, we just did this. We lived in a forest for 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm thinking, please let me go to Hollywood now with you and sell this film. People need to be educated about what that man has been through, and the story to get to where he's got to. I found him fascinating. Lovely guy, and I'd love to do something.
When was that lunch?
I think it was after. Yeah, it was after Taylor Serrano. So what was that? February, like middle of February. Not Taylor Serrano, Serrano Cruz. So February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So if it was up to you, who does AJ fight in July? Like, if you had your way about him fighting a lesser name, so to speak, like, is there a name out there? Okay.
Dillian White, Otto Warlin. I just feel like, Joe Joyce is another big fight. It's a tough fight.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like, I just feel that if we're gonna go into a Fury or a Wilder, which is inevitable, I just want him to go in with the best chance that he can have. And I just feel that right now he's not at the optimum level he could be to go into that fight. He would still go into them, and I still give him a chance in those fights, and I believe he can win those fights. But I would just like to see him firing going into those fights. And what I saw on Saturday wasn't AJ firing on all cylinders.
Do you believe that Fury Usyk is really dead?
Yes, for now.
Wow. So there's a door. Do you think there's a door to be open there? Or, we've been through this with AJ and Fury.
I feel like they're going to try. This was one of the problems that AJ had with the mandatories. So now Alexander Usyk has Daniel Dubois, Filip Hrgovic, who's with us, and Joe Joyce. They're his next 3 mandatories. Ultimately, he has to make those fights, the next 3 fights. But there will be a push for the undisputed fight again in the back half of the year. So as far as AJ is concerned, June, July could be a period where that fight with Fury could rear its head, because Fury's going to fight this summer. He has to. He's not going to wait till November, December to fight Alexander Usyk. So there's a lot of talks behind the scenes, about who's going to do what. Fury Usyk, in my opinion, is dead for certainly the summer. But I think there's a lot of people out there with a lot of money that have unfinished business for the undisputed heavyweight world championship. So I feel that there will be another push to make that fight later in the year.
Who do you blame for that fight falling through?
Some of what Tyson Fury says has merit to it in terms of the commercial value of the 2 fighters, right? It was a bit of a giveaway. Frank Warren went on TalkSport about, a month ago and said, look, hopefully we get this fight over the line. Easy fight to make. It's 50-50, blah, blah, blah. And no one expected Fury to push for anything else other than 50-50. It was just generally accepted in boxing that Tyson Fury is the bigger name. Usyk has the 2 defeats to Anthony Joshua and has the majority of the belts. Let's not mess around. Chance of a lifetime, chance of forever legacy in boxing, 50-50, loads of money for both of you. Good luck. Fury had other ideas. Fury likes to create a deal structure that ultimately you have to say no to. So he came out and he said, and he knows, Fury's very smart, and especially in a boxing sense, he knows how difficult that fight was. And when the Saudi deal fell through and the pot of money diminished, Tyson Fury turned around and said, I want 70-30 of a small pot, right? Usyk calls his bluff and says, okay. But when we say call his bluff, He did, but he did it with a reverse split on the rematch. So Alexander Usyk said, it's 70-30 to you in the first fight, but when I win, I get 70% in the second fight, which is fair, but unusual in a structure like that of a 70-30. Nearly always. I mean, don't forget, Anthony Joshua gave Alexander Usyk 25% when he was a voluntary challenger to fight him. Okay? Now Fury, after Usyk has beaten AJ twice and he's become the unified world heavyweight champion with 4 belts, including the IBO, gets 5% more to fight Fury. So it's ridiculous. And then Fury said no. And then he said, well, and Usyk said, well, what we'll do is we'll do one fight 50-50. And Fury said no. Really, what they should have done was one fight at 60-40 to Fury, or 70-30 to Fury in the first fight. And if Usyk wins the rematch, 60-40 to him in the second. But no one was prepared to move. And then it's quite weird, actually, not being involved and just watching it. Then Usyk's team comes out. Alex Krasuk, he's doing interviews every day. Fury's this, Fury's a coward. And then I just know Tyson Fury looks at it and goes, right, bye, go and fight Daniel Dubois and make 5 million. Go on, go. But ultimately, if Tyson Fury wanted to become undisputed, and if he really truly believed it was an easy fight, like he said, he would have accepted that fight, no doubt. But he knows how good Alexander Usyk is. And he was only prepared to do it on his terms.
Last time we spoke, I asked you about Croke Park. And then all of a sudden, the Irish government is talking about the interview. They're calling me some... I mean, it was a bizarre thing. They're like, why is an MMA show... I could see the confusion as they were speaking about it. They're talking about it on the news. It was a crazy scene, Eddie. And my favorite part about that, by the way, 2 days later, I saw you at MSG and I was doing the thing with Katie. We're reliving April 30th. And I think that's coming out on the anniversary. And I can't wait for that. It was an incredible experience to do that with her. She was oblivious to everything. I was like, what do you think about this? She had no idea that all this madness was going on, which speaks to just how special she is as a human being. But I'm just wondering, since then, of course, we go from the rematch at Croke, and then it goes to 3 Arena, and then Amanda has to withdraw, and now we get... by the way, I'm not just saying it, I'm actually more excited for Chantel Cameron than the Serrano fight, if only because it's the homecoming, but she can make history. I'm not just saying this. I'm not just saying this guy might be there. I'm excited about her trying to make history, becoming undisputed champion in 2 different weight classes. But here's my thing. Is it now maybe a negative into a positive because it got delayed? Are there any more talks about maybe doing it in September, October if she wins? And even if she doesn't win on May 20th, but we suspect that she wins, we hope that she wins, then we do the rematch against Serrano at Croke Park. Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Number one is I think Cameron is potentially, certainly as tough a fight as Serrano. I mean, she's undefeated, she's bigger, she's undisputed. There's a lot of history between these two as well. And when Croke Park fell through, Taylor Cameron works really well at 3 Arena. So the natural progression, and we had a pre-sale today with 3 Arena. I mean, it's just like the lines and the websites are crashing. We've got 8,000 tickets. This is just like, really, wow. You know, we could sell 40,000 tickets for this fight like that on the first day. More, probably. So everyone's going to go crazy. Everyone's going to mum. We're going to fill that real quick. We're going to create an unbelievable moment of history where Katie Taylor tries to become a 2-division undisputed champion against an Englishwoman in Chantel Cameron, who's a great fighter. Now, the natural progression from there is to go to the stadium. If she loses to Chantel Cameron, that we could rematch Chantel Cameron at Croke Park. But obviously the plan at the moment is to go Chantel Cameron and then Amanda Serrano at Croke Park or at a stadium. So we need to find a date that works effectively for Irish tourism. We need to obviously talk about the deal of the stadium. We know last time it's 3 times the cost of Wembley to go there. We've got old mate Conor McGregor, who's on board. You know, it looks like he's going to be sponsoring the event on May 20th and then helping us maybe with Croke Park. I had a great trip to the Black Forge Inn when I went over there, which was just the most random day. I just, you know, like, I know everyone's got their opinion. I always take people out, see them, right? So you hear this, you hear that, you hear this, you hear that. I don't know how long we were there, an hour and a half, 2 hours, like just the funniest time. I love great energy, and this guy is he's a pure character. I mean, it was like being in a press conference, right? We're sitting there in the Black Forge and, a beautiful pub, by the way. I mean, he's done an unbelievable job, right, in his hometown where he lives. And all of a sudden, a couple of his cameramen turn up and stuff like that. And in he comes, Connor. I mean, we've met once before at a Katie Taylor fight, literally for 5-10 seconds. How you doing? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And he comes in, and just the energy, and the enthusiasm. I mean, that's one thing that I took out of it is, that in boxing, and this obviously sits alongside MMA as well, you fall in love with the sport. He's so passionate about boxing, about mixed martial arts. He wouldn't sit down. I mean, he's ordered a steak. He's standing up. He's showing me how he'd fight this guy and how he'd fight that guy. And then he's telling me about, was it the Nate Diaz fight when he's on his back and he's got a bad knee? And he's like, and I'm just, it's like a million miles an hour. But it's like, we should do this. We should do that. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. And I'm sure everyone's got their opinion. My opinion is I love him. I think he's such a character. In life, you want to be around people where you go, I'll never forget. Like, I'll never forget that moment with Conor McGregor. And be fair to him. Like, I know that there is an element to everything that everybody does about publicity and exposure, but he has a genuine passion for Kate. Like, he loves Katie Taylor. He thinks she's amazing. Like, she's a hero in that country. And he wanted to help make it happen for her, for Ireland as well. And I'm sure he gets stick, as everybody does when they reach those kind of heights. But I had a great time. I really did, and, it was just, I guess I was lucky that I was catching a flight back because we had, some of that Irish stout. And next thing you got the Apple Proper 12s. And, next thing, who knows what's going to happen with Conor McGregor. But he's, we've been speaking to him and Audi about supporting the event with those brands. And they look like they're going to get behind it and push it. And then hopefully we can move that to Croke Park after. So the whole thing, the Croke Park, like you said, the Irish government, the media over there, then the Conor McGregor meeting, and then, probably your fault, Ariel, to be honest with you. All in
I was just going to say, this all came about from the appearance on my show. And I feel like, I mean, it'd be nice to get a bit of a pat on the back. Did you see what I did with Joe Markowski? Did you see the stunt that I pulled there? I invited him to the studio. We had a great chat, but of course we have to do the darts, the 3-on-3, which we don't have to bring up what happened when I went up against you. And then what happens is I'm feeling myself a little bit, and I offer the deal. If I beat him, I get to be a part of the broadcast for Katie and Chantel Cameron, because last time I was in Dublin, 2014, it was Conor's homecoming. And, I've been trying to champion the KD cause here in America for all this time. I felt like I needed to be there. The Irish love me. I don't know if you know this, but I'm sort of like an adopted son over there. And so what happens is I lose, Eddie, but then we go double or nothing, and I beat him. So whether you guys like it or not, whether DAZN likes it or not, I have to be, because Joe's a man of his word. I have to.
You're in. But haven't you done some big basketball deal now as well? You know.
We're doing a lot.
You're absolutely.
It's crazy. Now, what is my role going to be? Can we talk about that, or is that for offline? I mean,
What, for I mean, I think whatever you want it to be. Presenter,
carte
fight
blanche,
week interrogator, commentator, analyst.
I love it.
All round good guy. I mean,
makes it feel bigger, just a smidge bigger. I mean, Katie coming home is big, but like this feels like we've taken it up a notch. No, what do you think?
Know what? One thing I've noticed about you is, and it was only a matter of time before your ego got out of control there. But, I like it. I think you deserve it. No, it would, having you around, granted, gives it a big event feel.
I appreciate that. That's very kind.
You have to be. I will make sure you're there.
Appreciate that. A couple other things, and then I'll let you go. I appreciate this very much. Can we get Canelo versus Benavidez?
Well, I mean, yes is the answer. But
yeah,
contractually and in terms of what I've been asked to do, which has been in his head for over a year now, or nearly a year, is rematch Dimitri Bivol. Like, he will not be happy until he gets a chance to avenge that defeat. So right. I mean, that I said the other day, David Benavidez at 168, and some people will say, "Shut up, Eddie, you're talking rubbish." But the general man with a smart head will agree. Dimitri Bivol at 175 is a tougher fight for Canelo than David Benavidez at 168. It just is, right? Benavidez, great fight. They're both tremendous fights, but Eddie Reynoso and Saul just are desperate to fight Dimitri Bivol and try and avenge that defeat at 175. And I think after that, I mean, I've heard that Benavidez has signed a deal with PBC where he has to fight Charlo, Morel, and somebody. It's like a 3-fight deal. But open to starting those conversations. But my instructions from Saul and Eddie Reynoso is John Ryder, which is my mandatory, coming back from injury, and then Dimitri Bivol in September. After that, this guy is a beast, Ariel. He will fight absolutely anyone. If I said to Canelo Alvarez, some people think you don't want to fight David Benavidez, he would literally fall on the floor laughing. Like, he has zero fear of fighting anyone. But in his head at the moment, I don't think he can sleep properly till he gets a chance to avenge that defeat. The Mayweather defeat hurt him, but he was like, 22 or something like that when he fought him. Dimitri Bivol, he's absolutely certain he can beat him. And he goes into that fight as a massive underdog, by the way. That's the mad thing. But after Bivol, 100% he'll fight Benavidez, and it'll be a great fight, huge fight.
And of course, next up for him is May 6th back home in Mexico, which would be quite the scene. Incredible. Last thing before I let you go, what is going on? Do you need me to come over there and lay the smack down on some people? First, I see you and this guy Simon Jordan on Talk Sport. I mean, you're going toe to toe, all kinds of drama. And then over the weekend, Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn, and the Poison at the heart of British boxing. This piece in the Guardian. What is happening, Eddie? I thought you were like the patron saint over there. Like, what is going on? Where are all these haters coming from?
And that's what I said to you. I guess, like what I said, once you get to a certain place, I cannot believe, like, there is a real sort of common thought that Matt, like, we control sport. This whole thing about Conor Benn, where ultimately mistakes were made, but you leave it in the hands of the governing body and the commission, because you don't really. We're a promotional company. It's not our right to make certain decisions, especially contractually. And all of the blame goes on to us instead of the commission. It's unbelievable. And, the Simon Jordan thing is actually quite good. Like, it was just good. I gave him a good little, like, no one outspeaks him, but obviously, he's still a bit sore from that. But then the one at the Guardian at the weekend was unbelievable. It was such an unbelievable hatchet job, right? Where this guy, Don McRae, who is, by the way, one of the top writers in boxing, kept coming to me for little bits of snippets without telling me the basis of the story he was writing, right? Spoke to all these people to get their opinions and apparently all these things that happened, and never came back to me once and said, this guy said this. Can I have your feedback? Can I have this? So I wasn't happy with Don, and I told him, and he took his tweet down. Because it was bang out of order. But honestly, we've been talking about this Conor Benn thing every day for 8 months. It's been a testing period, I won't lie, because there's a lot of people that want to bring me down in the industry. And it's probably, part of it's probably my own fault, because I do wind them up and, I'm aggressive at what I do. But that's just me. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to start being two-faced and being nicey to people like some people and try and stab them in the back when they're not looking, because that's the game. That's the boxing industry. But there is definitely a movement to just, and I look at our schedule, Ariel, like, I don't mind people trying to bring me down. I don't mind people trying to mess with my head, trying to make me upset, that's just life. What I won't have is an imbalanced opinion of certain things. And when I look at our schedule, and I look at the DAZN schedule, right? And I look at, for the UK subscribers we're talking about particularly here, you've got Anthony Joshua against Jermaine Franklin. You've got Bam Rodriguez this Saturday in San Antonio. Brilliant card. You've got Tank against Ryan Garcia. You've got Rakimov against Joe Cordina in Cardiff. Brilliant card as well. That's just April, right? Then in May, you've got Canelo against Ryder. You've got Katie Taylor against Chantel Cameron. And you've got Lee Wood against Maurizio Lara rematch, right? That's just in May. That is all part of your subscription on DAZN. No pay-per-view. No, that's the first Joshua fight, 7 years of pay-per-view, right? And then you look at everybody else's schedule. Let me talk UK for now. And it's like people are, I get lost with that. And that's the one thing that aggravates me a little bit, that we don't get the credit and we don't get the respect for being an outright number one. So I've just taken it upon myself to be the bad guy. Don't forget, everyone's trying to push me out in America, right? They all get together on the phone. Oh, Hearn, what we got to do is say this, and you did it. Every interview, it's like, but it's like, isn't that how it's supposed to be? I mean, really, if they didn't care, if they weren't afraid, would they even say anything? So it kind of gets me up in the morning. But
is it not exhausting though? Like, enough of this. I'm tired, right?
Stuff, I'm not talking about like, people like to play the emotional and mental health card a lot in life. I call it more bad days a lot of the time, right? I know that world exists, but it's been tough because every day they're out for you, the knives, So it's like, but that's what they want to do, Aaron. They want to grind you down to a point where they'll say stuff, they'll make up stuff, and it's like they hope, because it's the only way they can beat you. They can't beat you on ability. They can't beat you on quality. They can't beat you on consistency. And they definitely can't beat you on work rate. So somehow they have to grind you down mentally, emotionally, and just try and beat you that way. And let me tell you, that ain't happening either. So, and I take it personally when that all starts, which makes me work even harder. So my passion for the business has more fire than ever. My love for the sport has more fire than ever. And I ain't going anywhere. Now, you're not going to see me around. I've said this to you before. You ain't going to see me at 70. You ain't going to see me like Bob Arum at 91. And you may not even see me beyond 50. But until that moment, you ain't going to beat me. Impossible. You can do whatever you want. You can gang up with people. You can make stuff up. You can get the media to attack them, whatever. But you ain't going to beat me. So, and America has been challenging, but we are in such a great place now in America to go on and actually aggressively, what we talked about in our earlier conversation, aggressively expand, sign more fighters. We've built the consistency. We've built the right model, and there's a lot to do in America because it's a competitive market and it's a tough market for boxing. But, it's the Conor Benn stuff's been really challenging. And unfortunately for me, because in my heart, I believe him. I've backed him every step of the way. And I've received so much criticism for him, but I can't turn my back on him. And so many people have said to me, what are you doing? You could have got out of this easy. As soon as I could have just gone, not up to me, sorry. It's over to him, he's got to fight his case. On we go. But it's not, I believe him and I've backed him. And everyone says I shouldn't have, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to turn my back on someone that I believe in. So call it a mistake, call it whatever you want. That's how I feel. And there's no benefit to me backing him if I didn't believe in him. Like I said, it's so easy to get myself out of this. And I've taken unbelievable stick from the media and fans. But in my heart, having been sitting with him 30 times during this process, with his dad, with his trainer, with his family, and seeing the tears, seeing everything, I believe him. And that's why I won't give up on him.
Will you remain in business with him?
Yes. He's going to fight in June. And it's going to be a challenge. Okay. And by the way, the one thing he must do is he doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control license, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
so where's that going to happen, that fight?
Looks like the Middle East or America. But I want him. He has to fight. The bulk of his career has to be in Britain. But right now, with the way the board are acting and the way Conor's acting, I said to Robert Smith on Saturday, let's get together. Come on, let's try and work this out. And he wasn't really interested, in all honesty. He was like, well, send that. And it's like, this is the problem. At the moment, Conor Benn's saying, fuck, I ain't fighting in England. I don't want to give them my money. I'll fight internationally. And the board are saying, oh, he's banned. We'll try and stop. They're writing to commissions around the world to try and stop him from fighting. The whole thing is a complete mess and it's out of control. But I believe him. When he fights, it's around a year since the adverse test. Like, he's been through a hell of a lot. He's gone through the process of WBC. They've reinstated him in the rankings. They've said you're clear to fight, but he must go through that situation with the British Boxing Board of Control. But they've got to give him a fair hearing, because at the moment, the way everyone's acting, everyone's lost their head. And it's I want to draw a line under it. It's been 8 months nearly. You know, it's like every day I get asked about it. So
and
lucky
we have an opponent.
I want it to be Chris Eubank Jr. You know, it's gone from family legacy to pure hatred. They're DMing each other every day. Like, both of them want to beat the absolute, behind off each other. And it'll be absolutely massive. It'll be up at 160. Let's do it. Let's get it over with and let's move on.
And if not Chris Eubank, perhaps Gareth A. Davies.
Oh, Gareth A. Davies is a big star in the UK right now.
I mean, oh my gosh, walks up with the microphone. Even I wouldn't have the balls to do that. Just walk right up there on the guy. Don't even ask him live on the air.
I know. But everyone was saying, "Oh, Conor Benn, what a disgrace!" Push it. I mean, that talks for, honestly. Talk about agendas. Wow. I mean, like, they have hammered him, and he hasn't helped himself. Because you know what? I haven't given him any advice on this. Legally, I haven't given him any advice on this from a PR perspective. Because he doesn't want to be told. He'll say what is on his mind. And he's messed up on a load of things, like in terms of just not being professional or actually going through a process. But he's, he believes completely that he's innocent. He doesn't want any help. But unfortunately, it's a very, very difficult situation. And if he is completely innocent, like I believe, this has been the most horrific 8 months. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But he's been through that process with the WBC. Now I would like him to go through that process with the British Boxing Board of Control as well. So hopefully everyone can have a clear head.
Fascinating stuff as always, Eddie. Thank you so much for the time and the insight. Good luck this weekend in San Antonio. Rodriguez is a tremendous talent. Anytime he fights, it is fireworks. I can't wait for the upcoming fights, and hopefully I'll see you out there in Dublin. It'll be incredible. I look forward to it.
One thing I will say just very quickly, right, is I know the UFC is built off strong cards and competitive matchups, and that's the general principle. Boxing fan or MMA fan watching this interview right now, watch our card on Saturday on DAZN. Seriously, from top to bottom, brilliant 50-50 matchups. Not, we know Bam Rodriguez was fighter of the year last year, etc. But beneath that, Unified World Championships, Ray Ford Magdaleno, one of our young stars. Some fighters that, honestly, people watching this have probably never heard of. But if you're interested in boxing, and you're always talking about MMA and boxing, just watch on Saturday on DAZN. Honestly, I think you'll love it.
Love it. We'll be watching. Thank you, Eddie. Good luck, and talk to you soon. Appreciate it very much.
Cheers, mate. Okay.
There he is. Eddie Hearn, head man over at Matchroom. Tremendous stuff, tremendous insight on a load of topics. Anthony Joshua, Katie Taylor, Conor Benn, Canelo Alvarez, even getting his insight on the news of the UFC and WWE now as one. And yes, shout out to our good friend Gareth A. Davies, the Warlock, Kung Fu Panda himself, involved in a bit of a, I don't know what you would call it, a fracas, a brouhaha. He was working the Anthony Joshua fight on Saturday for Talk Sport, which is a behemoth over there. I mean, they are, agenda setters, if you will, close to ESPN here in America, radio, but they do a lot of digital stuff as well. He just pulled up on old Conor Benn sitting in the front row and asked him, and he pushed his microphone aside. Guy's been through a lot. There are questions to be asked. He hasn't done an interview, so don't necessarily blame Gareth for that, but an interesting scene. And now if you Google Conor or Gareth, there's a ton of articles about the whole situation. Speaking of boxing, let's stick to the boxing theme conversation, but let's talk to one of our own. Anthony Pettis was back home in Milwaukee for the first time since his fight against one Benson Henderson a decade ago. This time competing as a boxer at the Pfizer Forum against Roy Jones, and he won. Headliner for Gamebred Boxing, Gamebred Boxing 4. He won in front of his home crowd. Another win for him in Milwaukee. He's kind enough to join us now to recap it all. Anthony, my man, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations. Has reality sunk in? You beat Roy Jones in Milwaukee. Does this feel like a dream?
Yeah, bro, it's crazy, man. Even like the day after I woke up, I'm like, did that really just happen, man? It's Roy Jones, bro. Like I grew up watching this guy. Like what he's done in his career is amazing. So yeah, it was it's crazy to even like even say it out loud. It's insane.
How would you assess your performance? Pro boxing debut, like what did you think of how you did out there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I knew I was going to try boxing before I call it quits in my fighting sports career. The opportunity popped up. It was a higher weight class at the time. I was already bulking up to go to like welterweight. So, when the opportunity was presented, it kind of just worked out where I was like, yo, I'm gonna be fighting a bigger guy. I think I did very well with the game plan. My coach Jorge Capetillo put together a good game plan that it worked. He was like, we're not gonna knock this guy out. He fought Mike Tyson, so we kind of outpointed him. Try to keep him on his heels because he's dangerous when he's moving forward. And we had a good solid game plan.
And what about just fighting as a bigger guy? You've never fought that heavy before. How did you feel out there?
Yeah, I definitely felt out smaller. I feel like his punches were throwing. His power, the power of his punches were a lot harder than my power punches. That's why I was throwing a lot of volume. So I feel like I was hitting him with the big body shots. But when I went upstairs, he had pretty good defense. But I could just tell, his punches did more damage than my punches because of the size.
He is 54, I believe, but he's still Roy Jones. What did you make of his performance, how he fought?
Bro, it's incredible, bro. Like 54 years old, he's quick as heck, bro. He hit me with a hook. One of the hooks he hit me with, like I think it was like in the 6th or 7th round. It wobbled me. He caught made my ears ring a little bit. Where I was like, oh, I got to be careful. I already knew, like, I kind of play around with him in there, but he was just fast. He was a lot quicker than I expected. I was sparring some young guys. Guys that are like ranked right now. So it's like I try to get as much mimic to him as possible. But his hook and his range was just something different.
So considering now you just did this, you were successful, you went through the whole camp. Are you sticking with boxing?
I think I'll have another boxing fight for sure. I think right now I plan on fighting again MMA for PFL more towards the end of the year. I'm not sure when they're going to do their pay-per-view card, but I'm going to see what opportunities pop up. I think right now I'm open to doing both.
So you're still with PFL? I thought you were done with PFL.
Well, I'm not doing the tournament with the PFL, but they still are doing their pay-per-view format. So we're I think Melky, my agent's going talking back and forth with when they do the pay-per-view card, a potential opponent, and dates and all that stuff.
Okay, so would that be at 55 or 70?
70, yeah. I'm not going to do 55. Yeah, 55 was just crushing me to make. Like last season, bro, it was hard to stay that low, that light, and the older you get, the harder it is.
Do you have a preference as to who you would fight?
I don't know yet, man. Honestly, I was so focused on Roy Jones Jr. It's the Monday after, and I'm talking to both coaches, my boxing coach. I just saw Duke Rufus at his gym. We was watching sparring. Sir, just getting ready for fights. We got a lot of big fights here, so it was cool to be back there. And I'm not sure yet. I guess we'll see what opportunities pop up first.
Okay, but more than likely it's MMA next for you, and then somewhere down the line it's boxing again.
No, I think boxing will be first. Honestly, MMA looks like the end of the year. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. And would that be for Gamebred again?
Yeah, I think so. We'll see what happens when hopefully the numbers come back and they were good. But that would be for potentially Gamebred or whatever else is out there.
And just fighting for Gamebred. Obviously, this is a promotion run by Jorge Masvidal. He couldn't be there because he's fighting this weekend. But what was the experience like? They're new-ish. I know you guys are boys, and it seemed like everyone was treated very well. There's a lot of MMA legends on the card. Your take on how the whole thing ran?
I think it was awesome, man. We're in the Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, one of the best venues you can get, in this area for sure. Even some of the boxing guys were like, man, they put Pedialyte out after weigh-ins and fruit out after weigh-ins. Like they were used to that stuff. Like MMA promotions do that stuff. So it was like, it was a little mix of both worlds, I think, where boxing and MMA are meeting in the middle. And it's cool to see. There was some straight boxers on that card, and there was MMA. Jose Aldo, to see Aldo there in Milwaukee. I think it was done very well.
For you to be back in Milwaukee, the scene of one of your great triumphs, did you feel like were you super nervous? Were you anxious? How were you dealing with everything? Just being back home, a homecoming of sorts for you in a different sport.
Bro, I felt so calm. It felt amazing. Honestly, I went out there and I felt very at home. I think that's what helped me to get that victory. I didn't get too crazy. He was waiting for me to go out there and try to knock him out. And I think I was outboxing him. I was outpacing him. And I just felt really calm, man. I think that was a big part of that.
Love the jersey that you were rocking. Why 17, by the way? You were rocking the Bucks jersey, but why 17?
That's my number when I play roulette.
Oh, really? That's your number?
Yeah.
What, you always go with 17?
Always, bro. Black 17.
Really? No matter what?
One of them. That's one of the numbers. Yeah. No, when I play roulette, I just play a system.
Oh, wow. And is it successful? I would imagine it is if you keep doing it.
I mean, it's pretty successful. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. It's pretty successful. I mean, it's roulette. That's for sure a gamble. It's wherever the ball drops. But 17's like in the middle. It's in the middle of everything. That's why it's 1 to 35.
Okay. So it's not necessarily because you like the number 17. It's more about like the placement, the real estate.
No, I like the number 17 and the placement. Yeah, I like the number 17 and the placement just happens to be it's in the middle.
That's amazing. It's amazing what you're doing now, man, because like you've got the management companies we talked about, the promotional companies we talked about. You have Christian Rodriguez fighting this weekend in a huge fight against Raul Rojas Jr. You're doing your thing. You're doing fun. Like it's like independent Anthony Pettis here, just kind of putting out the blueprint for people that you don't have to be tied, you don't have to be exclusive. Did you is this all of this surprising you, or was this part of the plan? Because you have your hand now in so many jars, doing so many things: entrepreneur, promoter, manager, fighter, boxer, MMA. Was this all part of the plan, or is there a part of you being like, man, I can't believe this all worked out since I left the UFC? This all worked out like this.
I mean, it was kind of part of the plan, and I can't believe that it worked out like this. I mean, boxing wasn't part of the plan. I was really focused on building the fight show, the management company, starting from the ground up. Now seeing where that's at, and seeing the level of guys that I'm attracting, it's cool to see that grow. And then the boxing was just like kind of an opportunity you can't say no to. I mean, I was looking for fights, and then they offered Roy Jones Jr. You can't say no to that. And then going out there and having the performance I did, I think it opens up the door to that world as well. So. And I always knew I could box, and I think once the next guy I fight, I'm sure there's going to be a younger guy and somebody more current. Who knows who it is, but I think everybody wants to see that. They're like, oh, he fought a 54-year-old. It was still Roy Jones Jr., man, and I'm 1-0 boxer, professional boxer. It's crazy. It's a bucket list thing.
And just curious about the boxing. Like, are you open to just fighting just regular boxers, or do you want sort of special attraction fights? Like, are you trying to make a career out of the boxing stuff here, or just kind of these fun one-offs?
I mean, it just depends on who it is. I think, I wouldn't say one-offs, but I think it just depends on who the fighter is. Obviously, my coach would have to agree with it. I trust my coach's, opinions and decisions. If it were up to me, I'd be fighting everybody. But I fought, 200 pounds. I fought 145. It's what I've done in my career is pretty cool, actually. It's pretty surreal when I think about it. But I'm not done yet. So I mean, if I do box competitively, it's at 168, 160 pounds. MMA is going to be welterweight.
I don't know if you were able to watch, but of the MMA guys who competed in the boxing matches and gals on Saturday, which one impressed you the most?
Vitor Belfort, man, that dude's got some hands, bro. Like he's got a God-given gift of just fighting. It was his birthday. I mean, I saw his hands were clean. Jeremy Stevens too. Jeremy Stevens had put up a really good fight. They both had the crowd going crazy. So I'd say both of them guys. It was cool to have them guys on the card too, like some legends in the sport.
Yeah, familiar faces, familiar names, but competing in a different sport. I love the idea, and hope that it's successful and that they keep on doing it. Like I said, you've got Rodriguez this weekend. Are you going to be out there? Do you corner him for this fight?
Yep. Well, I'm not going to corner him. Serge has been a training partner with him forever, so Serge will be out there in his corner. And then we have Mark, one of our wrestlers, another guy that's a killer. And then Duke will be out there. I'm gonna go out there. It's my daughter's spring break, so I'll be there out Thursday or Friday. I'm not sure yet. We just gotta figure out what she wants to do.
Okay, this is a big one for him. You feeling good?
Big one. Oh, we're feeling great, bro. I mean, Christian's one of those kids that just I've seen him grow up, man. He went to the same high school my little brother with. Like they kind of had the same blueprint. They went to Pius High School. It's like 2 blocks from Duke's gym, so it's like a walk away. And he did the same thing. Right from high school, started training full MMA. And I think his striking, his levels above this guy. It's the grappling where he has to be careful with, and just the aggression.
And as you mentioned, your brother fighting Pitbull at 135 pounds. Crazy times. So he's back 100%. He's good to go. He's cleared. No issues. He's healthy.
He's healthy, man. Yeah, he took the whole year off. It's obviously a big injury. That ACL is no joke. I was familiar with it. When I won the belt, I had to get a PCL surgery, and I had to take a year off too. So he's coming back right to a test. So a big fight for us, So I think he'll spend a lot of time here in Milwaukee, but he's gonna come out to Vegas and get some work out there, and make sure we get this win for him. This is his legacy right here, man. These are his legacy fights.
Yeah, gigantic. I love that fight. But as you said, a tough one to come back to after that layoff. By the way, I mentioned Benson recently retired. When you see someone that you're so closely linked to retire now, how does that make you feel?
Man, it's crazy to see even Cowboy get in the Hall of Fame and seeing him retired. Cool to see though, man. The guys deserve it, bro. Like we're some pioneers of this sport. And if their time is done, I respect it, man. Like for real, like you gotta be willing to know when it's done. And I know my time will come where I can't say yes to an opportunity. And while I can, I'm riding until the wheels fall off.
Do you want to be in the Hall of Fame? Is that important for you?
UFC Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually it is, man. Yeah, I would love to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, when I left the UFC, we left on great terms. I think Dana treated me very well. The company treated me very well. I think I wouldn't say it's super important, but I'd be appreciative, if I made the Hall of Fame.
And you just beat a boxing Hall of Famer on Saturday in your hometown. Pretty incredible stuff, man. Right. Unbelievable. Yeah, what a life. Congrats on the win, Anthony. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. And hopefully we get to see you back in there sooner. Another boxing match, an MMA fight this year. It's a lot of activity. I love it. So well done. Keep it up.
Appreciate it, bro. Thanks.
All right, there he is. Anthony Showtime Pettis coming off the big win over Roy Jones Jr. on Saturday. Yes, I can read you the the results. There's a lot going on Saturday with the the PFL event, the Joshua fight, Gamebred, the Final Four, WrestleMania. Pettis beat Roy Jones via majority decision. Vitor Belfort beat Jacare Souza via unanimous decision. Jose Aldo and Jeremy Stevens fought to a majority draw. Also of note for MMA fans, Gina Mazzani and Pro Gonzalez, they had an amazing fight, and Mazzani won via majority decision. Dean Wen beat Andy Nguyen via unanimous decision. Marcus Perez stopped Joe Riggs via third round TKO. So we'll see if they keep this up. I hope that the numbers were good. I hope that the buys were good. I hope that the ticket sales were good. All that stuff and more. And by the way, speaking of this weekend, I mentioned Christian Rodriguez. Let's see if I can get this up here. Nope, I screwed that up. Wait for it.
You got
Speaking
this?
Of this weekend, of course. Yeah, I got it. We've got UFC 287 this weekend. A lot going on. By the way, Frank, how did we? Now I was sweating it. We had the interviews. I was worried to break the fourth wall with you guys. I was worried. All right, like would the guest feel? By the way, not a single guest mentioned why aren't you in studio? Did you notice that? I thought someone would be like, why aren't you in the studio?
They're chill.
Not a single one.
You can count on these people.
I'm shocked. Are you not shocked?
Nah, I mean, I think they read the room. They were like, yeah, okay, this is what we're doing.
I guess in this day and age, there's extenuating circumstances, COVID. Like people are used to people not being in the same spot, right?
Yeah. I also don't know how to say this, but when they're being interviewed, I don't think they're really taking in like where you are. They're more concerned about how they look. Yeah. How many people come in here and they're like, oh, I didn't know you had such a great studio, even though you've interviewed them several times.
Honestly, it would be the first thing that I would have said.
Are you offended that they didn't ask?
No, but as you guys know, I was a little bit worried that they would be offended that I'm not in the studio. Like, oh, what are you giving us the on the road edition of the show?
I wonder how many people noticed.
You think they didn't notice?
Just don't get comfortable with this.
They didn't say anything.
Well, we're having all sorts of technical issues and everything. We should never do this again.
Are there?
We're making plans.
Don't joke about that.
You move out to LA. I'll move back down to Atlanta.
I love LA. No. You have to be. What are you talking about? Back to Atlanta. There has to be an element of.
If you're going to go to LA, I'm
going to be all over the country.
Are you kidding?
Me?
I'll have you know, Joe and I both walked right past your desk and grabbed some primes in the middle of the show.
Well, that's messed up.
Oh, that's been great. I've already had 2 primes today.
So if you want your primes, you got to come back.
Overlord isn't here, watching the stash either.
I should have locked it up. This is crazy.
Though, how do you feel about this? I wanted to run this by you. Frank was running in there. He's like, I'm getting a prime if anyone wants one. I was like, yeah, if you don't mind, grab me one. And he's just like, what flavor? I'm like, you know what? Surprise me. And he brings me back a Meta Moon. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Because that's like the lesser one?
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, in my opinion.
Surprise.
Not my favorite flavor.
I mean, honestly, the kids.
Orange.
The kids.
Yeah,
right they're the...
Yeah, the kids seem to like it.
If you water down the Meta Moon, I think it's much better.
Oh my God. With ice?
He knows how I feel about Meta Moon.
Yeah.
Felt like
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's unbelievable what these guys are doing now with the Dodgers.
The KSI.
With KSI. Unbelievable, right?
It is unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. The guy's just there. I mean, crazy.
I'm just laughing. We had our first glitch of the show. We made it through all the
This was the first glitch?
Yeah, first one.
You're kidding.
Though there have been a couple of times where you've been so locked in on the interview that like you're not moving at all that I thought you froze. And then you would blink and I'd be like, oh no, he didn't freeze. We're good.
You're like a robot.
So crazy. I can't believe, by the way,
I want to say about backing up from the mic. Take it with you.
Oh, take it with me? Right. Can I just chill like this now?
Yeah. I mean, you're done interviewing.
Yeah, headroom's not great, but...
Yeah. No, headroom's not great. Also the like the window, I see a little bit of a glare on the on the glasses. I want to give a shout out to Andy on the team. I want to give a shout out to Joe. Shout out to Frank. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Connor. Shout out to New York Rick. I mean, I pretty much feel like I just shouted out everyone. But
Miles, Matt,
of course.
The door attendants, yeah.
It's pretty amazing to do something like this and have it be so seamless. This was always my big fear, right? There was a time, by the way, July of 2017, I'm in Vegas on a Saturday night. Amanda Nunes was supposed to fight against Valentina Shevchenko. It ended up being Robert Whittaker against the Yoel Romero main event, International Fight Week. And come back to LA Monday night for the Tuesday World Tour start. For Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. And so I was in Vegas, flew home to New York Sunday, did the show in the studio Monday, turned around, went back to the West Coast, and was there Monday night for the World Tour, of course, the next day at the JW Marriott, which is like a minute block from where I am right now. I was told that I'm off the World Tour.
I don't have the heart to tell him that we're not live. Like, that's on you.
What?
Oh.
Are we not live?
No, we are.
Are you fucking Frank?
I'm not kidding. He kind of got me too. Like, I don't know what my face just looked like when he said that, but I was like,
why would you do that? I was about to fucking take this computer and throw it out the window. Why would you do that right now?
You're just so wound up. I need you to relax.
Frank.
What happened to the I saw there weren't graphics anymore on the screen. What happened to that? Why did they go away?
Because I was taking the shot. And I can't have the graphic on the screen.
I don't hear anything.
Because it'll cover Rick. Yeah.
Here I am. I'm legitimately in the midst of giving you all props for doing this so well. And I don't see I'm like, am I off? Who am I talking to here? Anyway, I flew back home to do the show. I'm never doing that again. I just want to let you know. All right?
That's good. The second house out in LA. That'll be nice.
That would be great. Where should I go? Manhattan Beach? I hear that's nice. Venice?
That's great. Keep it up with the New York theme. Go Manhattan Beach.
I love it. I love it. But let me just tell you something. It's been freezing out here. Freezing, raining, overcast. I haven't really been able to enjoy it. They've been working me so hard doing all the wrestling stuff. I don't know if you know this. Got an exclusive sit down with Roman Reigns. Got an exclusive sit down with Logan Paul. Got an exclusive sit down with Cody Rhodes. Shout out HBK, Sami Zayn, Gunther. A lot. I mean, we may turn up at Raw tonight. It's right.
Wow.
It's at Staples. It's right here. I might turn up. I might be like, I need some answers. What's going on? WWE, UFC, what's happening? I need answers. Might turn up.
I'll be watching. Yeah, I watched the Gunther sit down. It was fantastic.
You liked it? I feel like that's your guy.
I mean, how can he not be? Your guy too. Lock of the century. You put everything on the table. Put all the chips in the middle, and I mean, it paid off. There was a minute during the match, maybe not everybody watched it. He disappeared for a while, and I was getting worried, and then comes out of nowhere off the top rope. Literally came in off the top rope.
No, he was just chilling. He was just chilling. It was all good. He just needed to rest. You know what's crazy about this news? Because I'm still like kind of thinking about it as the day's going on.
It's a lot to digest.
A lot to digest, and for us, it's great because it's very much an MMA story, right? It's UFC, it's all this. You know what's so crazy about this? Didn't even mention the fact at the top of the show. That's how fresh this is. And, me a couple, a little bit sleep deprived, no problem. Just kind of slept for 3 hours last night. No big deal. Vince McMahon and the McMahon family, aren't the owners of W. Is that accurate? That's kind of crazy, right? That it went from
how long did they have it for?
Oh my God. I mean, his dad owned it, I think definitely 70s, possible 60s. And then, of course, he takes it over in the 80s. It goes from the WWF to the WWF. And then in the early 2000s, they changed it to WWE, but he took it over in the early 80s. And here we are, WrestleMania 39. WrestleMania 1 was his big gamble, March 31st, 1985. Who could forget? Mr. T and Hulk Hogan against Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper. Put all his money on that event. If it failed, he was going to be out of business. 39 years later, he sells the company for whatever they sold it for. What was it? 9 billion, something like that. I don't know. I don't even understand how all of this works.
Yeah, 9 billion.
It's not CNBC.
What is this? The Money Channel?
I don't understand. Am I Jim Cramer here? This is like,
that,
can we
that
just
deserve better?
Can we just talk fights? I mean, it's a lot. Has anything happened since I've been doing the show? Has anything happened?
No.
Is there any news? Did anyone say anything?
There was no. I mean, I'm just waiting on the announcement of you back. In that position that we fabricated.
He's
you.
back.
Once that comes, then everything will start rolling. I mean, to your point about the McMahons, it's definitely interesting, and it definitely feels like a bit of a new era. But because they're still so tied, because the existing regime is transferring over, it feels similar to does the UFC feel much like? Was it as crazy to think the Fertittas are no longer involved with the UFC or own the UFC? Dana White doesn't own the UFC. Now somebody else owns the UFC.
Yeah.
But Dana's still there, and Vince McMahon is still there. So I think the separation it doesn't cut off. There's not a clean severance. So I don't think it will feel very weird. It seems like business will continue in a certain way.
You think Dana sticks around?
I mean, this is a very interesting question because Vince McMahon, for all intents and purposes, based on the titles and the status that they've laid out, Vince McMahon is now there are now many levels above Dana. There are layers above Dana White in a tree that is a combined UFC and WWE entity, whereas previously Dana was the head honcho at the UFC and reported into Endeavor, right? But now there's going to be this joint company that is WWE and UFC, where Vince McMahon is above him in the hierarchy, right? Because he will be on the level of Nick Khan. He will be the president of the organization that falls underneath. So I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of palace intrigue and political things that still have to play out, and we'll see. But the picture becomes more muddy now, in my opinion.
Right.
There's things that need to be solved and play out here. How much do people want to influence? So yeah.
Fascinating. By the way, I know you're a big boxing guy. Your thoughts on Eddie Hearn?
As a promoter?
Yes, just in general. Your thoughts on his tan? He looked fantastic. No, just anything stood out about what he said, whether it's the
the thing that stood out the most, like a sore thumb, was Eddie Hearn talking about what might be next for Endeavor in terms of boxing. That felt like it came out of nowhere. That felt like it kind of he just dropped that in there. That was interesting to me because that stood out wow, I didn't expect him to go in that direction.
I thought that was really
everything else. It's just Hearn being Hearn. He's just the man is incredible at this profession. The man is very good at emotion. The very end of the interview. Listen, I know this is an MMA show. You MMA fans are used to the stacked card. This boxing card, pay attention. It's stacked in this way. He just knows how to do this gig. He just knows how to do this gig. I'm always constantly impressed by Eddie Hearn.
Yep.
A bit of a fan
stuff from Michael Chiesa. Yeah, interesting stuff from Chiesa. And we got word. I've way too many tabs open. This is a big problem for me right now. I got word that via MMA Fighting here regarding Li Jingliang's injury. AK Lee wrote this article that he is officially out of UFC 287, but had a pretty scary injury. He took to social media this past weekend to discuss the spine injury that forced him to withdraw from his bout against Michael Chiesa. And he posted an x-ray of it, which is pretty like you can see the indentation. Poor Leach.
Yeah.
So we got confirmation that Chiesa is off. He gave his side of the Kevin Lee story. And I like that Gunnar Nelson fight for him. Very interesting stuff. I'm curious to see how the Gamebred card does. And I'm curious to see what they do with Kayla Harrison. What about the difference between Kayla Harrison today and the Kayla Harrison who we spoke to back in November? Just it's like she had a spiritual awakening. I think she might have even used that term. Yeah, crazy. Did Frank jump on the comms and say anything to her?
No, but we did talk about, his last experience with her. Brought up some bad demons for him.
She's gonna win for sure.
Oh, I forgot. Honestly, I forgot all about that. Wow.
Yes.
Damn,
that's
Frank.
where this whole thing started.
He got into you know what? She got into a bad spot thinking it was all over after she lost. Now she's in a great spot. Frankie fell into a depression. He quit the Parlay Pals. Now look at us. We're rolling. I mean, this
great point.
It coincides. We're all on the up and up now. It's all moving in the right direction.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of the Professional Fighters League, a reminder that it's not just the UFC this weekend. We've got PFL 2, baby, Friday, April 7th at the Theater at Virgin Hotels. 11 bouts on the card, and the headlining act, wouldn't you know it, Larissa Pacheco, the one who beat Kayla Harrison back in November, Black Friday to be exact. She goes up against Julia Budd. It's their featherweight tournament, so she's dropping down to 55, which Kayla alluded to. Is she going to have trouble making that weight? So stay tuned for that. That's this Friday on the ESPN family of networks. You can get it on ESPN Plus. You can also get it on ESPN2. Prelims start at 6:30. You also have Bruno Capelloso against Mateus Scheffel. You've got Jorgen De Castro on the card. Familiar name there. We have the return of one Aspen Ladd. She is returning as well. Biagio Ali Walsh, the grandson of one Muhammad Ali. He's going to be on the card as well. Maurice Green on the card against Marcelo Nunes. A little something for everyone. That's this Friday on ESPN Plus and ESPN2. I also want to give a shout out to our good friends over at Squarespace. We love Squarespace. They are great people, and they are great supporters of what we're doing here on the program. Always love talking about Squarespace because if you're someone who's trying to launch your own website, you're trying to launch your own newsletter, your own online store, all those things and more, your own site to get your music out there, your work out there. I mean, Frank has 9 Squarespace sites at this point.
It's 3.
Basically, it's 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for growing your business online. With Squarespace, you can sell online, you can manage email campaigns, and even book appointments all from your business's website. You can head to squarespace.com/MMA Hour right now for a free trial. And when you're ready, use the offer code MMA Hour. That's MMA Hour to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. 10% off your first purchase, squarespace.com/MMA Hour. It's a great way to get your business up and running. And again, newsletter, reporter, you want to build your own thing, a recipe blog, a travel diary, email campaign, online store, premium gated content like tutorials or newsletters, all that and more over at squarespace.com/MMA Hour for a free trial. Again, squarespace.com/MMA Hour, and use the offer code MMA Hour. And finally, we want to give a shout out to our good friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And as you know, this Saturday is UFC 287. It's a big one, my friends. It's Israel Adesanya going up against Alex Pereira for the second or fourth time. Jorge Masvidal going up against Gilbert Burns and so many others. It's UFC's first show in Miami, 20 years. And we're not talking outside of Miami. We're talking in the heart of Miami, Miami-Dade County. You gotta love that. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the UFC. New customers can bet just $5 on a pre-fight money line bet. and get $150 in bonus bets if their fighter wins. Plus, with DraftKings, same game parlays, all customers can take a shot at an even bigger payout. New customers, download the app and use code VMAR. Bet just $5 on a pre-fight money line and get $150 in bonus bets if their fighter wins. That's code VMAR only at DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 and older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That's 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resorts. Bonus bets issued expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/MMA term. Yeah. So I'm reading all of this.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, what are we reading?
Well, the problem is I'm reading all this stuff here, and please support them because they support us.
That's a problem.
What?
Yeah.
I think we're all confused on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Okay, so can I break the fourth wall for you guys?
Please, yeah.
Doing the show. We're here in LA, sticking around till Tuesday, because that Catching Lightning. What?
Choo Choo Tuesday.
Yeah, Choo Choo Tuesday. That Catching Lightning documentary series that's coming out on Showtime about Lee Murray and
that looks awesome.
I'm hosting a Q&A for the premiere here in LA, and so I'm staying till Tuesday. Well, I'm staying till Wednesday, and then I'm flying home Wednesday to go to Montreal because it's Passover. And so to let you all know, usually I take off for Passover, but here I am, mensch of all mensches, not with my family. No show on Wednesday because that's the first night of Passover. So I don't want to hear any belly aching out of any of you. But usually I'm off, during the Passover break, doing the show on Monday from Montreal, same setup, because we'll be coming on after 287. Don't mention it, okay? Don't bother to mention it. We do it out of love. But that being said, as of right this second, right now, my family is driving home to Montreal home. And in the midst of that ad read, my wife told me that she got pulled over. And so I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like the kids are in the car. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I'm reading that. I'm asking her, do you have the registration? It's just a lot to process. You know what I mean? So that's what happened. That's me.
Oh, I get it. So
nice
it sounds
pause.
like you're annoyed that your wife is telling you that a very significant life event happened, and you're trying.
I'm not annoyed at all. I got distracted.
Yeah,
distracted.
We noticed. We were wondering what happened.
What's cool
I mean, it's just all.
is that the ad still got read, and that's what's important.
It did get.
Oh, that's what's important here, Frank.
The important things, as Frank knows. But yeah. Okay, so when you say I'm reading all of this, what you mean is I'm reading all of these texts about my wife being pulled over.
Yeah.
Yes, there's 20 unanswered texts. Like, what am I supposed to do? Do you want me to call the highway patrol? Like, what am I supposed to do?
I mean, is she all right?
Me, sir. I do have. Yeah, I think they're okay. I hope they're okay. I have that card, by the way, EJ.
PBA
you know that card, right?
PBA.
What?
PBA card.
What is it? Yeah, I got that.
Well,
you know this card? DC, you know this card?
No.
I've heard him talk about the card.
Okay, so one day I'm driving around town, and I guess I missed something. I did a left turn, stop. I don't know. Guy pulls me over, and then you know what he says? What?
What does he say?
He says
He's laughing about the details of this. I was doing something.
I took a left turn. Like,
he says he's a fan,
Oh my
and then he
God.
says he gives me this card. If you ever need,
wait,
drop
so
this card.
This is a real thing.
Yes, yes, it's a real thing. It's like I'm a friend of the family.
You're
Officer?
above the law now.
Yes.
What, in
So I
New
say,
Jersey?
Listen, I'm going to tell you where it is, okay?
What was his
I
badge
feel like you
number?
shouldn't even be telling this.
So I get the card. What was his badge number? Jeez Louise. So I get the card and I'm like, holy crap. Now, I'm not one who usually gets in trouble, but, it's a nice thing to have in your back pocket, right? I don't know how many times I've been pulled over, probably 3 in my life. I get pulled over 6 days later. What are the chances? Illegal left turn. That one I remember. This is the best part. This is the best part. No, because I guess in the back of my mind, I let my guard down.
Yeah.
It pulls down this guy is not a fan. Window goes down, license and registration. So what I was told was you give the license, you give the registration, you give the insurance, and you just kind of slide that other card in.
Slide it.
No reference. It's like a little sandwich. Okay, cool. No reference of it. Just slide it in. He looks at it and he goes, "What is this?" And annoyed, He's annoyed. He's like insulted that I did this move.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I just got this card. I was told you slide it in. He's like, who gave you this card? I don't know the guy's name. I was like, all right. So to his credit, comes back after a long deliberation and doesn't give me a ticket. But not to his credit, keeps my damn card.
You look at one.
It was just a one-off. But
yeah, it was just
I mean,
one-off.
it worked.
So my wife's laughing at me like, oh, you're there bragging that you got this card. Fast forward, immediately lose it. 6 days later. Fast forward 5 years, and just a few months ago, I'm walking around town. The cop that gave me the card says hello to me and says, hey, did someone take your card? Because after I gave it to you, someone then gave it back to me. I was like, yes. This guy gives me a new card.
What did you do to
You're kidding me, and you currently have it?
Oh, wow.
I got it back.
Show us the card.
Yeah, but they usually, here's your issue. They usually have years on them, so you might be out of date.
Wait, what does the card even look like? What does it say?
Show us
I just got the
What does PBA stand for?
I can't do any of that. Eric knows. He knows more about this than I do.
It's
Oh yeah, you're on the inside, Eric.
Police Benevolent Association.
Wow.
This is a card that by state police officers order to give to friends and family.
Wow.
It's like hey, maybe let my friend.
Do you have one?
You know,
wow.
I've not only do I have one, I've got the like gold plated.
Wow.
You cop
know yourself.
joint. You know. The one that they don't take away.
It must
the one
get
that you
lonely
keep in
at
the
the
pocket
top.
for life.
It must. It's an incredible thing. I tell you what. It's an incredible thing.
So to be clear, we don't
anyway.
have a show on Wednesday?
No, we don't have
That
a
was
show,
Frank's
Frank, and you know
takeaway.
I've repeated this. I know. This joke is really oh wait, let me see. There's an update on the situation. I don't think it's for this card. He doesn't need that. It's just a mess of a situation, guys. Do you think I should ask them to call me in?
Card. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ariel Helwani here of
Have you ever
the
heard of
MMA Hour
KSI
fame?
or Logan Paul?
Have you?
It works with the kids.
How many cases of Prime is this going to take to get my wife out of this?
Yeah.
Negotiating Prime delivery on the phone.
Are you a fan of Meta Moon? Because we got a lot of those.
No, then she's going to get 2 tickets.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's recap the weekend. What do you got, GC?
Well, I mean, we got to start. Parlay Pals. Another dub.
He's not in the studio.
Talk about it. Like, we took some big risks, and it paid off. 13 and 18 now. We're 1 win away, and we're back in the green, boys. We're fighting hard.
Now, to be fair, we didn't take any big risks, but they all cashed pretty easy. There was none that we sweat out.
No, yeah, like jokingly, we obviously took massive favorites, but I mean, Eddie Hearn said it. Anthony Joshua won decisively. Lucas Brennan and Brendan Loughnane both win by finish. Movlid won all 3 rounds. So yeah, I mean, one of our easier ones. Nice to see it for a minus 160 on a 4-legger. So that was good. The weekend itself, another losing weekend. I went to bed. I was like, yes, winning week. This is fantastic. We're starting to get back in the green because I assumed Cody Rhodes was going to win. I had a bet down on Cody Rhodes, and I was like, kick my feet up, winning weekend. He did not win, and therefore I lost. So both Georgia boys, both GCs, as they say, Georgia Cody, Georgia Connor, both losers this weekend. One day we'll right the ship. One day.
Hope for him.
I think I'm on a 5-week losing skid right now. How do we turn it around? This weekend, UFC 287. That's how we turn it around.
That's right.
We want to do our
oh, that's it.
Picks, or do we want to?
No. Well, I thought you were going to do you do the whole spiel. No, we're going to.
I can do my whole. Yeah, I can do my whole.
Yeah, do the whole thing, and then we do the picks on the back end.
My picks, and then the parlay pals picks. That I don't have anything.
No, don't you recap the big hitters, all that shit?
No big hitters.
Do we have a rehearsal where we talk about all these things?
I've already. I think I asked 4 times if you're going to do the recap, and then we're going to do.
Yeah,
but after the ad, you were like,
"Whoosh!" That was it.
Okay.
You need more time.
Why is there no big hitter?
No UFC. I normally get a giant influx of tickets, so I'm like, you know what? Let's do the big hitters. Didn't get that this week. Didn't really get anything.
Okay, all right. Listen, you could have told me that.
There was no DraftKings League, no Verdict League. Not as much to recap.
Felt like everyone was taking the weekend off except for me.
No, it sounded like you took the weekend off and we followed suit.
Weekend off. All right, let's make our picks. How about that?
Let's do it. Whoosh.
Okay, UFC 287. Whoosh. PFL, you could do PFL too, right?
Oh yeah, PFL 2 for sure. Now, were you saying you can do PFL 2 TOO or PFL 2 TW?
Doing both. I was actually doing both. How about that?
Nice.
All right, so let's go. Let's do the randomizer.
Let's randomize it.
Wait, am I first, or is it starting off?
No, it hasn't randomized yet.
No,
Oh, okay.
it hasn't done its thing.
Sorry, it took a minute to warm up there.
You get to crank it.
Wow, you know what?
Ariel is first.
I gotta say, I used to be like first every time.
Yeah,
Now I'm last.
I think
every
we
time.
all go through these valleys. There was one point where I was like, I think I've picked last, like 19 times in a row.
I've taken that from you. I've inherited the last.
Either way, Ariel, you are first. I will go second. Frank third. Rick bringing
it
up
up.
the caboose.
Oh my! I really like the line on this.
It's always good
Joaquin
when we go
Buckley
Ariel
Chiesa
first
fight.
because he's always so prepared and always has it like right on the tip.
We got
of his
a oh boy this time.
I just heard someone. It sounds like you like someone.
Yeah, I like the line in this Joaquin Buckley Michael Chiesa fight.
How did we not even ask about that?
I don't know. It was just we were locked in. You know, he was giving us good stuff.
Well, he was also like talking about real fights.
Yes, that is true.
Yes,
that is
yes,
true.
yes.
I just can't believe we have a lineup for that, and it's
I know.
not happening at
An
all.
April Fool's joke.
I thought it would look good against Ponzinibbio.
I am gonna go with. You know, I'm looking at this Larissa Pacheco line, and I don't. Julia Budd is tough. You know.
Yeah, she is tough.
Not sure if I love it, if I'm being honest. I'm going to go with, how about this one for all of you? Mr. Biagio Ali Walsh.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
Shout out. Shout out.
The grandson of one
Yes.
Muhammad Ali.
That's my pick. Money
All right,
line.
great.
He's minus 600 or so against Isaiah Figueroa.
Yeah.
I'm actually on Figueroa's street right now, so it felt apropos.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
beautiful.
a lot of information.
I'm going to head to the alternate total rounds page. One of my favorite pages on DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm going to take the alt line in the Kelvin Gastelum Chris Curtis fight. I'm going to go with over 1.5. Minus 400. Over 1.5. Kelvin obviously never knocked out Chris Curtis. Incredibly tough, durable guy. I think it's going to be a great fight, but I think it's going to go on the longer side.
All right, who's up next?
Frankie.
So there's been some rumblings that the card this weekend for 287 is kind of like a dog's card. So I thought I would pick. No, I'm not going to pick a dog, but I am going to go with
Where are these rumblings coming from?
from the control room, on the other side of the
Okay.
control room. Big conversation. The thing was that you can make a play for most of the underdogs this time and not be too surprised. But I'm going with Kevin Holland.
Oh, that's a
Spicy.
fun one.
Minus 250. Santiago Ponzinibbio. Nice.
Every
Don't
time I
shake your
think of
head at me.
Santiago Ponzinibbio, I think, "Jump on the replay, jump on the replay." You know that song?
Yes.
I do know that song.
All right, that's a big one. Big fight for Kevin, trying to get back on track, right?
Yes.
I mean, yes, but Kevin's the type of
Ponzinibbio's
guy like.
tough.
No, but what
yeah,
I mean
very
is like
tough.
Kevin's been on slides before. Like he's just the action guy. He's you
Right.
get one win under your belt and then it's right back to where he was.
Joe, did
know?
you have something
He
to
doesn't
say
get
about
too hurt.
this?
The hand concerns me a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
Holland, the
fair.
injury back in December, but
It's fair.
What did Joe want to say?
Yeah, Joe. Why you He just shook his head no at me when I picked
He
Kevin
didn't like.
Holland.
He didn't like the pick.
Nah.
All right, fine.
I think Joe wants to make it a 5-person. Is that
Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah. He's champing at the
what could
bit.
go wrong there?
Okay, my turn.
He's not chomping at the bit. He's champing at the bit.
I said
Thank
champion.
you. Thank you for acknowledging me. I'm gonna go back to PFL 2.
Yeah.
I was really thinking about Larissa Pacheco. I've put her
wow.
in parlay pals before. But who I am going to go with is Aspen Ladd. Let's lock that in.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Good old
I
Aspen.
thought we were going to get a Pacheco pick. That's why I didn't take her.
I really like her, but I do feel like Julia Budd is a level of competition that's up there, you know? So
On this Monday at these current lines, that gets us to plus 152.
nice.
I like it.
I like that.
That
UFC
feels good.
287.
That feels really good.
It does. I like where we're at there.
I like that. I feel good about that.
Sure.
No,
Yeah.
no one went with Masvidal or Burns.
Right.
Well, Masvidal would be a hell of a
that'd be a ballsy pick there.
No one went with Izzy or Pereira.
Nah, very close fights.
Tough. I mean, let's see
dying to know
what Connor cooks up.
Yeah, I'm dying to know if GC went with them. Did you go with them?
I do have some picks on those fights, and I guess we can find out now what they are. Let's start, though, on the prelims. Steve Garcia, Shaileann Nordenbeck. I'm going to go with the under 2.5 in this one. Steve Garcia, man. I mean, you know you're going to get a brawl when this guy comes in here. 6 of his last 7 have ended in the first or second round. He brings the pressure. He's constantly moving forward. He has finishing capabilities. He's been finished. Same thing with Shaileann. Yes, 3 of his 4 fights in the UFC have gone to a decision, but prior to that, I mean, he's got 29 wins by finish. 29 of his 39 wins have come by finish. I think Garcia is going to come in here, push the pressure, and someone is going to end up getting finished. Obviously, the way it loses, if Nordenbeck falls back on the wrestling and just kind of lays in praise, and Steve Garcia isn't able to get off, but I think he does, and someone gets finished in this one. Next up, Frank mentioned it, man. Dog card. This is a tricky card to navigate. I'm going to start with my first one right here. Cynthia Calvillo. I'm going to play her at plus 240. How does she win this one? If Loopy can't consistently wrestle throughout this fight. I mean, after the Angela Hill fight, there's no telling if she's going to be able to, or if she's even going to go that route. I mean, if she stands and tries to box with Cynthia Calvillo, I think it's going to be a very close, contested fight, especially if Calvillo's using the pressure. She's moving down to 115 for the first time in, I believe, 4 years. I think she, might have the size advantage in this one. Or if Calvillo wrestles herself. At the end of the day, I think this is going to be a very close fight. I mean, unless Loopy does what she did against Carnelossi and just ragdolls her for 15 minutes. I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be very close in mid-level women's MMA, plus 240. I'm willing to take a small shot on Calvillo getting it done. Next up, another dog. It's Gerald Meerschaert. I'm not fully sold. I know everyone needs to be Joe Pyfer. I'm not fully sold on being Joe Pyfer just yet. He's looked great against lower level of competition. He did a grappling match against Eric Anders. He looked great there as well. But he's going up against a dangerous vet, man. I mean, Meerschaert is live for a finish at any moment, obviously mostly by sub, but he does have knockout capabilities. He looked fantastic against Bruno Silva, especially on the feet, ends up getting that submission late. Sure, Joe Pyfer could come in here and starch him, and I'm going to look dumb with egg on my face. But with this step up in competition that he's getting against Gerald Meerschaert, the massive experience gap that Meerschaert has over him, I'm going to lean with the veteran being able to get it done here. Plus, the danger that Gerald Meerschaert presents. He's never out of a fight until the fight is over. So I'll take the vet at dog money in this one. Next up, speaking of experience, both these guys have that. Kelvin Gastelum much more in the UFC though. Still only 31 with, I believe, 20 UFC fights, which is just crazy. He's coming in, obviously, on a skid, lost 5 of his last 6. But in this matchup, I think he's going to be able to use the volume. I think he's going to be able to stay upright, which is something that a lot of Chris Curtis's opponents have had issues with. He's got that knockout power, but Kelvin Gastelum is hard to put out. Just because you haven't been knocked out doesn't mean you can't be knocked out. But I mean, he is tough. He is tough as nails. I don't see him getting finished here. I see this being a super close fight. This line has had weird movement. When I took it, Gastelum was at plus money. Now he's at slight minus money. But I think over the course of the 3 rounds, he's going to be able to get the volume off. He's going to stay up. He's going to use the pressure, and he's going to be able to outpoint Chris Curtis over the course of the 3 rounds. Another dog onto the main card, Rob Font. I'm taking him. This is a big step up in competition for Adrian Yanez. And how does Rob Font win this fight? We've seen Yanez start slow. We saw it against Randy Costa. It took him a little bit to get out of the blocks against Davey Grant in a super close fight. Who doesn't start slow? Rob Font. I mean, this dude puts out volume. He weaponizes his volume. And, the thing that has got him in the last few fights, despite super out voluming his opponents, he has been chinned. He has been knocked down 5 times in his last 2 fights. Obviously, that's a worry here against Adrian Yanez, but you've got to learn from your mistakes. I still believe in Rob Font being a top 10 fighter in the bantamweight division, and there is a real path to victory here by avoiding the power shot of Yanez, staying on your feet. And a lot of people are saying that he's been chinny lately. I know he's been knocked down 5 times in his last 2 fights, but he's never been knocked out in his entire career, so you really do have to put him out. But the path to victory for him Start fast, stay fast the entire way, outland him, which would not shock me at all over the course of the three rounds, outpoint him and get it done. So I like, again, another veteran at dog odds. Next up, we talked about it, the co-main event. We talked about the dogs. Michael Chiesa said it best. I mean, Jorge Masvidal beating Gilbert Burns is probably unlikely, but we're in the 305.
Oh.
I think there's a slight chance. I really do. Me and Rick were talking about it beforehand. Obviously, Gilbert Burns, incredibly game, incredibly tough opponent. BJJ, if this goes to the mat, there's a very real world where he just walks through him or he just lays on him for 15 minutes and just does damage from top the entire time, or he finds a sub. Though I do think, a lot of people are saying he's just going to get choked out. 27 fights across Strikeforce and UFC. He's never been subbed. Like, he's not just a fish out of water on ground. Yes, it's kind of looked that way with his last 3 fights being against Usman twice and Covington once, but those are fantastic wrestlers. Gilbert Burns really isn't that. Once it gets to the ground, he is incredible. But getting it to the ground, Jorge Masvidal has a decent takedown defense, and if it stays standing, I think Masvidal is completely live in this fight. And I really think there's a world where that happens. And at plus 380, that's giving me a 20% chance to win. If this stays standing, I think it's much larger than that. I mean, we saw him catch Colby Covington. His last 5 wins are by knockout. I really do think he could find some success in this. Does it worry me? He's talking on Countdown about if he doesn't win, he's probably going to retire. That is a bit concerning, but in the 305, I think he's going to put on a show. He's very tough to finish. He's durable, and I think he's going to be able to find maybe some success. And I think his most likely path to victory on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, Jorge Masvidal KO. These are all sprinkles, small bets. I'm not unloading the bankroll on this. Masvidal by KO plus 700. I mentioned it. His last 5 wins are by knockout. I think that's a world we've seen. Gilbert get caught, knocked out by Usman, knocked down by Chimaev. I think it's a possibility. Not the most likely one, but at these odds, I'm willing to lay a sprinkle. And then last but not least, the main event. I can't fall into the trap again. I can't do it again. You talked about it with Chiesa. The champ that gets the immediate rematch, especially after getting knocked out, not finding success, not being able to get the belt back. I mean, the statistics just speak against it. And once again, we're seeing the former champ as the favorite. Izzy's my guy. Couldn't lay it with him. What I did do, same bet I took last time, under 4.5. I think Izzy's just got to do something different. I mean, he's 0-3 in his combat career against Alex Pereira. Obviously, what he's doing is not working. Even when he does find the success, he ends up getting knocked out. I think he needs to either be more aggressive, work in more grappling, and I think he's going to do that. I think he knows how much is on the line here. I think he knows he has to unload the clip. I think he's going to be more aggressive. And on the Pereira side, I think there's a chance he's more aggressive as well. I mean, he saw the success that he found in round 5. When he gets Izzy, his back up against the cage, and he can tee off, I mean, he obviously finds a ton of success there. Pereira, I mean, it's clear. Always live for the knockout whenever that left hook can land. He can finish someone. But I also think there is a world where Adesanya is able to get Pereira out of there. We saw him wobbled at the end of the first round. I think he knows he has to be an aggressor in this fight, and I think it's going to present chaos. And I think the under 4.5, especially at these odds, is a decent bet.
Am I crazy, or does it feel like this fight just kind of appeared?
It's here.
Like, I feel like
it's crazy. Yeah.
I can't believe we're here, right?
Schedule's been very aggressive lately, so yeah, you kind of can't catch your breath. They're popping up quick.
It's just like, no, but the fight happened in November. It's a really quick turnaround. And I feel like that's not being talked about enough for Izzy. Like, come back from the knockout 5 months later.
Task,
I don't think the time will be a big factor, if I'm being honest. So to the point Chiesa made earlier, and I absolutely agree with, Alex and Izzy are the type of guys at the level of kickboxing that they were at, that they could fight in a month. They could fight 3 weeks later. I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the mental hurdles Israel has to overcome now being down 3 across combat sports. That's
hurdle of getting stopped.
Well, you said it wasn't a fair stoppage anyway, so maybe he agrees with you.
I mean, no, but he didn't even agree with me. I'm the only one who says it wasn't a fair stop. Is there anyone who's actually agreed with me on this take?
I've seen it, but those people are wrong. Personally, my take on it is I don't think that will come into play. I really don't. I think Israel is very mentally strong when it comes to the fight game. I'm not concerned about that creeping into his head as much as I'm concerned about the idea that like Alex might just be a bad matchup for him. That is the reality of the situation. When you fought the guy 3 times and he's won 3 times, clearly that means that there's something that is difficult about him to figure out, because Izzy tends to make every other fight look pretty easy. So that's more of my concern is like, is Alex Pereira just a very bad matchup for Israel Adesanya? I don't think the mental part of it, I don't think the turnaround will come into play. But there's a real world where Alex is just that guy, and now it's 4-0 in his favor.
I mean, Alex said it in the countdown. He talks about a guy that he lost to in kickboxing multiple times, and he just couldn't get over that hurdle. It was just a terrible matchup for him. And he said even if he fought him today, he thinks he would lose again, and he thinks that he is just that guy for Izzy.
Man, I can't wait.
It's very
Great
intriguing.
story.
It's going to be crazy. Yes, it's a fantastic story. I can't wait for it.
And I love that they're in Miami again. Great city.
Oh, yeah.
They deserve it. Masvidal fighting there. Font Yanez, Holland Ponzinibbio, Raul Rojas Jr. against Christian Rodriguez on the pay-per-view card. Chris Curtis against Kelvin Gastelum. That one is kind of snuck up. Michelle Watterson against...
Is that your wife on FaceTime, or is that a siren outside the...
too soon, bro.
Too soon, bro.
I mean, I'm dealing like it's a lot to handle.
You're right, man.
Wait, are they okay? What's the update?
Yeah, everyone's okay, but usually I'm the driver, and so they're pulled over, and the guy said his paper ran out in the printer, so they got to get another car to come, another police officer to come in. Like I think about my poor kids, they're probably terrified right now. Daddy's not there.
Yeah, I didn't have this context, so sorry about that.
It just felt like a little bit of a low blow, if I'm being honest.
What?
I mean, WWE and UFC are. I mean, it's a lot. It felt like a couple days ago. A lot coming up Helwani. Nothing's coming up Helwani.
I think this will be good for you. Is my main prediction. I think this will turn in your favor.
Or indifferent.
No, I think it will be positive.
The funniest thing is people acting like I work for WWE. Like, oh, you're fucked. You're going to get banned now. Like, what are you talking about?
It's just because you're the preeminent wrestling journalist out there. They're getting confused.
I know. Anyway, I got Eddie on my side.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Eddie open for business. Talking about investments and whatnot.
Hey. Could do worse. Could do a lot worse than going into business with that man.
That compliment he gave you, though.
What was the compliment? That I have a big ego?
When you're there, the show feels bigger.
Oh, it's a big deal. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, Eddie, you know yourself. I mean, you saw it firsthand.
When did the know yourself thing start up?
It was a
right
thing.
After the sheesh thing, yeah.
There's a lot of people coming up to me at WWE. They're like,
what is with the sirens, though? Should we be concerned? I mean,
I don't know.
Did you pay your parking meter?
Wait, hold on a second. This sparked something. I saw a shirt in the WWE broadcast of Shoosh.
Yeah.
But like wrapped around. So first of all,
it's
did
wrapped?
you just steal this?
No.
No, it was like long. They like exaggerated it.
Well, he stole it from me because I said it on the show originally.
Shoosh or sheesh?
No. He's saying the idea of wrapping it around. Connor definitely came up with that. He thought of that while we were
I don't remember this. I honestly don't remember that. Shoosh is Chad Gable. He says shoosh, but I say sheesh. It's totally different.
Oh, I'm wondering if you lifted that. Yikes.
No. By the way, did you guys see my darts video? I challenged the whole...
I saw that, man. You were just out there in the middle.
It was very interestingly edited, It didn't show a lot of the darts action there.
And were you just playing by yourself, or...
Can I break down the fourth wall for you guys?
Please.
I mean, why do you always ask?
Yeah, just the wall's down.
Okay, so we do this thing. It's media day. There's 1,000 journalists there, right? There's just like a ton of people there.
Yeah.
And by the way, can I break the fourth wall again? What happened to the?
Just do it.
What happened to the bug? What happened to the MH bug? Did something happen?
It's because when I'm on the screen, it covers me.
Here, I'll demo. I'll demo for you.
Sometimes we lose the bug.
So when we're cutting around, I don't want to cover Rick, and so I just take the bug out. Which
because it felt naked. I like that bug. And it felt naked without it.
These are the kind of things that you direct and question while you're in the studio with us.
Also, no, these are the kinds of things that I wouldn't notice if I was in the studio.
We've been doing this for like months.
Wow. I'm just staring at a Zoom screen right now.
Sometimes we lose the bug. Like if it gets dicey.
Okay. It's good. It's fine. No, I get it now. I get it.
Right,
you can go back. So we're doing the darts thing, and there's so many people there, and we're like, okay, we can't do interviews. There's too many people. So we come up with the darts, and everyone loves it. But my thing was, If I win the first one, then I have to win every single one. If I lose the first one, I have to lose every single one, right? Because then it's not fun. Then it's like a 50-50. It's not fun. So first one up was Bianca
meaning you'll
Belair.
throw them if you lost the first one, you just like not try.
Trust me, it's harder to lose. It's like GC could tell you, getting them wrong is just as hard as getting them right. With the picks, right? You could say,
Jesus,
wow, below the belt, man. Okay. Come on.
Yikes!
Don't even get a response from Connor.
He accused me of stealing his idea, for goodness sakes. Anyways,
you did.
So here we are. We're doing the thing, and I lose the first one. Bianca beats me. So then I say I got to lose every single one. That makes it more interesting. But then I know the Miz is in the building, and I think the Miz has. I think we have heat. I don't think he's a fan. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just win that one, and then it'll make for a funny clip. I swear to God, on my life, I would let them go first. Some of them are getting 20s. I'm aiming for 1s and 2s and 4s. I'm so impressed. I was killing it. 1s and 2s and 4s. I lost against everyone except for the Miz. It almost, in my opinion, more impressive than getting 180.
This is a worse story. This is more controversial than the Jack Shore. Like this is
no. I was trying, and it turned out great. There was one person I had 21 and they had 24, and I'm like, oh, I got to get a 1. Nailed the 1. I was like, oh yes, this is amazing.
But also,
then I did a smart one where there was like a tag team.
Him.
Yeah, but then
you were about to beat him.
Yeah, then he pushed.
Yeah, I don't buy. I'm sorry, I don't buy this.
This is pro wrestling.
The logic of it doesn't even make sense. I can't.
No, I wanted to lose to make it a better, thing. That's what I wanted.
I don't buy it.
I mean, if someone was doing that to you, wouldn't you feel insulted?
I think
if they went and they were like, "Oh yeah, I was losing on purpose."
No, I don't think they'll be insulted. I mean, I was trying to make good content.
All we learned is that you're a good home team, but on the road, it gets dicey. That's okay.
It was tough. There was no wall behind you.
Thank you.
Nothing to go back.
Depth perception.
Dangerous.
You know what it was like? It was like college basketball Final Four when you're in the big stadium. I'm trying to take a corner 3, or you know what I mean, and there's no depth.
They all had to deal with it. That's not an excuse.
But I'm used to proper,
Oh, sure. Okay, that is
elements.
You know what? That's fair. I will give you that.
They're just walking in doing the best. Was the Miz was so confident.
But wait a minute.
What were we playing?
1 second ago,
501, this and that.
wow, he really knows his darts.
I smoked him. And then
but 1 second ago, you were saying that you were trying to lose. Now all of a sudden, the depth perception came into play. Like, which is it? Were you trying to lose, or were you trying to win?
No, the depth perception made it harder. Made it easier
harder
for
to
me
lose.
Oh. No, made it easier. For me. You guys have any requests? Because I have now a few hours off. Finally, should I go to Santa Monica, Venice? What should I do? Should I go?
Yeah, say Venice.
Recommendations or requests?
Yeah. Go to Amoeba Music.
Requests from where I should go. Recommendations, I guess.
Venice Beach.
Should I do a little? Should I do a little pumping iron on the beach?
Yeah, on Venice Beach.
Whoa, I love it.
You said it's a little rainy though.
Right? Boxing too.
What about some skateboarding? Isn't there skateboarding?
Can you go to?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. We need that on video.
Okay,
too.
but you got to grab somebody.
You got the
go to the comedy store. I think you'll have a good time there.
Just show up.
Yeah, I mean they usually do weeknight things.
Remember Frank San Antonio Rex.
You think
I was more excited about it.
Poppy is playing tonight. Maybe I can get a.
Ooh. You said show up and hope for the best. I mean, he's been doing that for a while, so maybe.
You know what? I'm gonna go.
Oh, someone backstage said to me, "Shout out to Gringo Poppy." That was nice. It's crazy how far this thing goes.
They said it to you. Shout out to Gringo Poppy.
Yes. Another one. I want to give a shout out to my good friend Valentino Khan. Do you know Valentino Khan?
No, who's that?
He's a DJ. He's the DJ. Shows up to some of their events. Cousin, I believe, of Nick Khan. Huge fan. Came up to me backstage with his brother, who said he's been a fan since JarryPark.com.
Wow.
That's an OG right there.
I mean, Frank and GC have no idea what that is.
Well, you said it was 2017.
No, they read that beautiful article in the Globe.
Oh my God, I forgot to mention it. Simon Haupt of the Globe and Mail, who visited us the day Michael. What a story that was, right? I mean,
it was great. I enjoyed it a lot.
What? By the way, should we put that on the shirts? Ariel Helwani is the most dangerous man in MMA.
I do love an old school newspaper headline, and that was really good. I like that.
So good. I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh. You read something like that, it's a little bit terrifying because your life stories just was someone else in their hands. But overall, I was pretty happy with it. there were two big errors, and they actually corrected one without me bringing it up. Number one, they said that matcha was a something doodle, not a Bernedoodle. What was it? I don't know.
Poodle?
I'm not a big dog guy. A poodle? Anyway,
Golden
Bernedoodle.
How did they know to correct?
Golden doodle. They went back in. Maybe not in the print, but online.
Wow.
And then the other big one was that they said that I was a nerdy kid in high school, which couldn't have been,
that.
further from the truth. But
Wait, they corrected this?
It's
What did they correct it to?
not the nerdy part, but they changed matcha to Bernedoodle.
Oh.
They made two corrections and
They just doubled down. Confirmed by two sources. He was actually a nerdy kid in high school.
I didn't bring it up. He brought it up. He's like, apologies. I know she's a Bern. He's great. Wow, what a great writer. It really did his research.
It was a really cool article.
Yeah.
Going back to the darts real quick. In the video, it looked like there were people walking behind the dartboard. Was that true?
Oh yeah, it was
That's dangerous.
Yeah, it's super dangerous. Like, what if somebody had gotten hurt?
Our own Jose Youngs had his laptop right behind there, and someone missed so bad. Actually, Chad Gable, it went on the ground
next to Jose.
Laptop was going to get not Jose's. Someone else's laptop was there, and then of course MVP bumps me. I hit the wall. Amazing though, how not amazing. So many big MMA fans. Like MVP's knowledge of MMA.
Yeah,
was
he's like a real fan, right?
Yeah, I met Grayson Waller, who's an up and comer. He competes for NXT, and he was giving me crap. And then when we stopped filming, he tells me that he's been studying Chael's old interviews and stuff like that. I was like, wow, this is
you could learn.
World
learn.
Got the one-liners.
Could learn from that guy.
And this is before they were all under the same umbrella. By the way, imagine they hired Chael to do promo classes for them. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
But is that almost like a snake eating its own tail? Like he cribbed from them from early wrestling, and then they cribbed from him to do the evolution. It's almost like a circle,
Yeah, you're right.
It is a circle, yeah.
It is a circle. Time is.
But I feel like he improved the art form, if I'm being honest. So maybe there is something to do in terms of bringing it to a realism. Chael's the GOAT.
And I'm seeing on the wrestling media sites here that Vince McMahon spoke to, I guess, the employees and used the famous line, business as usual. Remember that line? Business as usual. That, of course, was the famous line used by one Dana White when they purchased Strikeforce. So we'll see what happens. If you're a UFC fan, I don't think this affects you very much, to be honest, because it kind of is business as usual. It's the same ownership. But I think the bigger questions are for WWE. And so we'll see how it plays out. One thing I know, by the time we do this show again next Monday, I feel like a lot is going to happen.
Yeah, we'll probably know quite a bit more, at least in terms of intentions and people speaking on it and things like that.
I might be in Miami. I might be hosting the press conference this weekend.
Wow.
He's back.
Are you going to come back
to announce the new face of UFC? I'm back.
Are you going to come back to New York at all when the Cavs are smashing the Knicks in the Garden? Or are you gonna stay?
Wow. Well,
are you going to stay home?
Counter chickens. I think you guys are still in the mix for third seed, no?
You would love that, wouldn't you? That'd be good for you.
No.
Good. Joel Embiid.
You think I'd rather play the freaking Sixers over you guys?
Based on
what?
Sixers. The Sixers haven't been hot lately. The Sixers look pretty bad. You want to see Donovan Mitchell for 7 games? All right, okay.
I don't mind. Bring him on.
I thought
what I'm worried about.
Rather see Joel and he could feel the lights of MSG, audition, and then come over real soon.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Should ask Pettis how his precious Bucks are gonna deal with my Hawks.
Wow, that's a good take right there. Are the Bucks playing the Hawks? Well, you got to go through the whole thing.
Yeah, we got to go through the playing tournament.
You got to make the play.
Oh, you're back? You're back on the Hawks bandwagon?
When did I ever leave? Come on, man.
It feels like you say, they're number 4 for me.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Let's be real here. They are literally 500.
I support this fully, by the way. We've talked about this.
Yeah, no, we've talked about this.
The sad news is that they're going to win as many championships this year as both the Knicks and the Cavs.
That's pretty
Ouch.
fair.
I mean, that's... Yeah, I don't think my team is a title team this year.
That's pretty fair. My back is killing me from this chair that I'm sitting on.
Such a noisy chair.
It is very noisy. I don't know what's going on. And I need to get to some business meetings, talk about, my future and whatnot. So it's,
future endeavors.
Yeah, it must be nice. 1:30 already done.
Yeah.
Got a full day.
Oh,
You gonna
it's
go back to
fantastic.
sleep or
Go get
what?
some- No, I'm going to the beach, bro. I'm gonna
Venice
go.
Beach. You said it's
What
raining
a
out
dip.
though. That's a little weird.
No, actually, it's gotten a lot nicer now.
All
I
right.
don't know
So
if you
to the
could tell
comedy
by
store
the-
you go.
I don't know if you can tell by my glasses, but it's got a little sunnier.
I mean, the
it's still
sirens
quite
and everything.
warm.
I'm a little worried about you.
65, sunny. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's like when I leave, it's 30 Celsius. Right now, it's like 18. I'm still a Celsius guy, so I don't know.
Not a centigrade guy.
No, I'm a Celsius guy. But nevertheless, it shall be a good time, and we'll be back on Monday, post pay-per-view Monday,
Can't wait.
live. Have no fear. Same setup. I actually feel like this setup is going to be better than the one I have in Montreal. I need to get a better setup than the last one. If you remember.
When we did
Yeah,
the
you were
I
all-
remember. I remember.
We were all kind of struggling on that one.
that was fun.
Yeah. Oh, it was so bad. GC was in Miami for something. His internet was wacky. This is great.
My internet was
Love
great.
His internet was great, but he was in a big cavernous.
Yeah.
Right. There was a lot of noise.
Yeah. The apartment complex I was at was too big.
Right. Oh,
Nice
that's
problems
right.
to have.
Yeah. First world in Miami. And we're going back to Miami. All right, guys. Thank you very much. A pleasure as always. Thank you, New York Rick. Thank you, GC. Thank you, Frank. My favorite part of us rehearsing all of this was every time Frank came on, I said, hey, this is Frank. Like I wouldn't recognize his voice. It was very professional of you.
Oh, it's a habit, man.
Yeah.
And you need to know who's talking to you.
No, I appreciate it. But we did it, right? Like I
we
feel
did
like
it.
we did it.
But let's not make
We
a
pulled
habit
this
out
off.
of it.
Well,
You know, doesn't feel
enjoyed
right.
it. You know what? Now that I think about it, I should have just made this lower.
We didn't even bother to turn
Less-
off the air conditioner today.
Oh, in the room?
Yeah.
Let me see. Okay, can I get a good look at it?
No, the
What's my
camera's
baby
down.
doing? Oh, nothing?
Yeah, when everything got unplugged, we lost the cameras
Serious?
and the live feed. And no, man, we're fine.
Oh, can I see the studio? I want to say goodbye.
Unfortunately, no. There's caps on the cameras right now
Why?
because it's the end of the show.
I mean,
And if
wrapped
you
it
want
up
to see the
before end of
studio, you
show?
should just be here.
Oh my God! You know yourself. You could. I can't say goodbye to my studio. I'm
Unfortunately,
there.
no.
I
You
want-
need to, come
I
back.
saw the Randy Couture toy was a little bit pushed. I was
And
a
that's
little
when we
bit
were like,
alarmed by
enough.
that.
We're not showing them the studio anymore. Especially when I went in there to get
Wow.
Prime. I'm like, I don't need
No
this.
one mentioned. I thought Eddie for sure would have mentioned it. Like, oh, I'm not good enough for a regular show.
I mean, it looked more intimate. Like you were talking with your hand
Why
right in
that
front of your
background?
face. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking like this. This is great stuff. All right, everyone. Thank you very much to all our guests. I could have just done it like this. Thank you very much to Michael
What are you
Chiesa. Thank you very much to Kayla Harrison. Thank you very much to Eddie Hearn. And thank you very much to Anthony Pettis. Good luck to everyone competing this weekend, whether it's on the PFL card, UFC 287, Izzy, Pereira, 4 or 2. Can't wait to talk about it. Back next week, same time and place. Until then, I say...